1 minute, Mike.
We are live on a Thursday edition of the Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app, live at Chickies and Pete's in Atlantic City, Tropicana. What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, Mike Gill. Josh Jennings back in the Matt Blatt Kia studios producing today's show. You out there as we take you on a 4-hour journey together up to Thursday Night Football tonight, which has a little bit of impact on the Eagles today. They play Pittsburgh and Minnesota tonight. I mean, and technically you'd be rooting for Pittsburgh, obviously, to get Minnesota kind of out of this mix. So that's tonight here on 97.3 ESPN. After the Sixers play the Jazz, we'll talk a little Sixers today. Joelle Embiid, monster game last night. Not only did Joelle Embiid have a monster game last night, it was essentially what he did. I mean, you ever watch Joelle Embiid and just been like, how the hell does a guy 7 feet tall, 280 pounds do some of the things that he does? You know, we talked a lot about it. We always, we have the process, the anti-processors, the people who hated the process, the people who love the process. But I don't know anybody out there who can say, I don't love watching Joel Embiid play. I mean, he is an absolute treasure to get to watch this guy's career night in and night out do some of the things he does. Josh, he's unbelievable. I mean, he's unbelievable. The fact that he is as skilled as he is he flawless? Is he without flaw? No. Has he had issues in his past with, not being in the best shape or his stamina or having gastroenteritis or whatever the hell's been wrong with him in the past? Sure, he's had some issues in the past. But, man, when he's on the floor, and he is right, he has got to be one of the most fascinating, skilled players that you've ever seen. I mean, forget just now, ever. Who has been that big with the skill he has? I mean, some of the things he does is unbelievable. He gets the rebound last night and literally goes coast to coast. And not only does he go just coast to coast, he takes the rebound down, dribbles the ball up himself, crosses half court, gets to the paint, and then Euro steps his way past the defenders. I mean, you're thinking to yourself, holy hell, how the heck did he do that? He had the ball left of the lane late in the game. I mean, you're talking about the game on the line here. You're not talking about just having fun. You're talking about the game's on the line here. And he's left of the lane. He ball fakes. He gets the defender kind of off. He goes past the defender and just slams one down. Then he gets another one where he's out at the three-point line. He dribbles his way in. He gives up the dribble. He up and unders. He throws the ball off the backboard to himself. He had an assist on the play to himself. He goes up and under. He throws the ball off the backboard. He catches it and then slams it in everybody's face. That was all in one game last night. And he essentially willed a Sixers victory last night, which I guess you could talk about. I mean, you think in the fact that the Charlotte Hornets, you're playing them on back-to-backs. They have 5 rotational players not playing because of COVID situations, and you had issues with this team both times you've played them. I mean, I think it really calls that the Sixers just don't have enough right now, and that's a bigger picture story. But the fact of the matter is this: Joel Embiid, when you watch him play like he did last night, look, they've won 3 straight road games. I mean, they went to Atlanta and won on Friday night. Then they won Monday night in Charlotte. They won Wednesday night in Charlotte. Now they'll play Utah tonight. But, winning on the NBA road is not easy. They've won 3 straight on the road. But obviously something's lacking from this team. I mean, when you're struggling the way you are to beat a depleted Charlotte team 2 times in a row, you figured, all right, the first time they kind of clawed, they hung in there. You play them again on Wednesday night, you would think like, all right, the first time they just, played their hearts out. You thought last night would have been the night you kind of pulled away, but man, they just would not go away, and you needed everything from Joel Embiid to put them away. It's, it's funny because right before I went on the air here, one of the guys that works here, he's here every Thursday, and he was like, hey, I was listening to you yesterday talking about the whole, Ben Simmons and the trade and Tobias Harris. And, at this stage, they have got, and there is no right deal out there. That's the problem. The whole Simmons thing, there is no right way to do this unless you get something that is going to be an all-star level player. Just getting a secondary player or 2 or 3 of them is not going to work. I think you see that last night. But I will say this. Watching Joel Embiid play was worth a 10-win season, right? Watching Joel Embiid play is worth a 19-win season. Watching Joel Embiid play is worth the 18-win season. Those 3 seasons, the end result is Joel Embiid, and it was worth getting to see him now go through, 37 total wins over a 3-year span. I will take the end result of what I got to watch last night and what I've got to watch over Joel Embiid's career. Quite frankly, if he plays like this, he did not get off to a great start this year. But if he plays like this, the final, we got half of December, January, February, March. If he plays like this throughout the rest of the season, April, he has got to be in the conversation again for MVP. I mean, he is literally carrying this team all by himself. He's got no help out there, and it's sad. And, you say, look, you've got Joel Embiid in his prime. You got to help this guy out. I agree to some extent, but what do you do? I would love to hear from somebody out there. What is the absolute perfect, maybe perfect's not the right answer, but what is the absolute best case scenario where you have you have Joel Embiid playing in his prime years. You have Joel Embiid playing in his prime years at an MVP level. What is the best way to kind of go about this? Because you can't convince me that getting 3 role players is the right thing to do. So if that to me is one way, that I'm out on. Give me another way to do something to help Joel Embiid. What do you got?
Well, I would say my first reaction to that is what I mentioned to you yesterday, which is we're going to find out about more players who are going to be available starting next week. And when we find out who more of those players are, because we know that apparently the Pacers are talking about blowing their team up, according to reports. Mm-hmm. Sacramento is a dumpster fire, and they want to trade about half of everybody on the roster. We know that a team like the Timberwolves, apparently, according to latest reports, is the new ownership that's coming in, Mark Lore and Alex Rodriguez. They're not happy with the state of the franchise on the court.
How could they?
So, to me, a team is going to come along and get desperate. But part of the problem is, Mike, and I'll throw this back to you about this. I feel like every time I hear about a trade, it's a 1-for-1. There is no way the Sixers can make a 1-for-1 trade involving Ben Simmons. It's going to be like the James Harden situation. We're going to get 4 or 5 teams involved.
Well, you can make a 1-for-1 trade if you say Ben Simmons for Bradley Beal or Dame Lillard, but I don't think those are on the table.
Correct.
So those 1-for-1s are essentially out.
Right.
The whole Brogdon thing, that thing kind of came and went, and he signed a new deal. So I don't think he can even be traded.
Brogdon's like the one player who cannot be traded, basically.
Right. He is out off the table, and he was the one guy. Now, would you take Sabonis?
Well, if you take Sabonis, you got to trade Tobias.
Why?
Because don't they play similar
they play
positions?
the same position, right? But I thought you were talking monetarily.
Oh, no. I meant in terms of positional, like on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, that is a repetitive situation, but I like Sabonis. I mean, I definitely I would consider trying to figure out how I would make those guys fit. I don't know that there's a great fit. I like Sabonis more than I like Harris, probably.
I mean, I think Sabonis and Embiid could definitely play together very well, especially considering both of them are stretch bigs. It's just I don't see how you keep Harris on the same floor with those three guys. It would just be too much redundancy.
I agree, but I would say if I had to pick one, I would take Sabonis over Tobias.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I think Sabonis would make more sense. You know what I mean, for what Embiid does.
Who else do they have? Miles.
Well, they have Karis LeVert. Karis LeVert is a guy that's being talked about being traded.
I like LeVert. I don't like him straight up for Simmons, but
maybe it's something where you get one guy from one team and one guy from another team. To me, I'm assuming that this is not going to be whatever the Sixers do. Daryl Morey doesn't do small; he goes big, right? So I'm assuming Morey is going to go crazy if he does something.
Mike, Embiid is really special. Only gripe I have with Joelle is that he loves jump shots. He could dominate every night in the paint, but instead loves shooting jump shots. Let me address that real quick. What makes Embiid is that he can make jump shots. He can make the elbow jumper. He can hit that spinning fadeaway. And that opens up the rest of his offensive game, because when he does that ridiculously exaggerated ball fake, people actually fall for it because
every time
think that he can take and make that shot. If he just strictly was a guy in the paint, as this text message suggested, he wouldn't have it so easy. I mean, yes, he could dominate down there, but then all of a sudden you're getting double and triple teams all the time down in the paint, and that causes him to turn the ball over. He doesn't see where the double team's coming from. It's his versatility on offense that makes Joel Embiid special. That he can hit a fadeaway spinning baseline jumper, that he can get the ball at the elbow, pump fake, get you off your feet, blow past you and dunk it. Then the next time down the court, ball fake, get you to not go off your feet because, hey, I'm not falling for that again. And then, okay, you're not going to fall for that. I'm going to pull up and just swish one right in your face. If you can't appreciate all of the things Joel Embiid brings to the basketball court, then you're not appreciating him the right way. It's like somebody saying, hey, I got this great drink, and you chug the whole thing down and you didn't take the whole sip. You got to sip it and enjoy the whole thing. You can't chug Joel Embiid. You got to sip Joel Embiid. I mean, you can't be some guy who says, I just want him to get the ball back to the basket, and that's all I want him to do. Well, then you're not getting, what's the Seinfeld episode when Jerry buys his dad the Wizard tip calculator? And he's like, it does other things. And his dad's like, no, it's a tip calculator. No, it does other things. If you just want to use the Wizard as a tip calculator, you're shortchanging yourself for all the other things the Wizard does. Sir, don't shortchange Joel Embiid. He's amazing. He's unbelievable that he can shoot threes. He shoots like 38% from three-point range. Like, what are we moaning about that he shoots threes for? That adds to what he does well. That's why he's Joel Embiid. That's why he's so dangerous. The way that you want him to play takes away what's unique about him. Then you just got a guy with his back to the basket. That's not all that special.
Well, also, Mike, I would say that people don't realize that some of the shots that he's taking right now is because he doesn't have the help on the floor. He's taking the pressure on him to take more of these range shots, because if they had a balanced offense, he would need to take as many perimeter shots. There's times I think he feels like I have to take this shot because nobody else is hitting shots right now.
Well, I mean, he has embraced the whole I'm the guy with the ball late in the game. He has certainly kind of embraced that. And I think because of it, he has embraced this, hey, I'm the guy on the offense. And I think because of it, it has affected his field goal percentage. He's taking shots that, does he sometimes get a little too crazy on the outside? Possibly. Yeah, I think he does. Last night I saw him running down the court and his hand was up in the air. It was like he wanted the ball because it was like, hey, I'm having fun being the guy in the open court right here. I think he gets in these spurts where he wants to have the outer body experience and be Joelle and be the point center or whatever. And he takes some bad shots from time to time due to the personnel on the floor. But listen, Embiid is special because of the uniqueness of his offensive game. If he was just a one-dimensional back to the basket center, I don't think he would have the same effectiveness. He might get to the line a bunch, and he's a good free throw shooter, so maybe. But
Mike, he's already getting to the line. He got to the line 19 times last night and 14 times on Monday.
Right.
So what is being back to the basket going to do more? Add 4 more foul shots, 3 more foul shots? Yeah,
that's a good point. Maybe. Look, how many jump shots is he taking a night? I don't know. Let's say he takes 8 to 10. If he was down in the paint, and who knows? He could get to the line another. It's preposterous to say. What's he going to get to the line another 10 times? God, he was at the line 19 times last night.
Right. Last night he had 19 free throw attempts and 17 field goal attempts.
Look, they just need to get the guy some help.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do it, though. Normally I could say, hey, I have an opinion. I got an answer for you. In this particular instance, I am open ears, and I am willing to listen to what the people listening have to say on what's the best way to do something here. And one way that I am not accepting is to trade Ben Simmons for 3 Jamokes.
No, and Daryl Morey won't do that either. So I think you're safe in saying that as well, because the person in charge of that decision isn't going to make that move.
No, I'm pretty positive that Daryl Morey is not going to say, okay, I quit. Give me, your 3 role players.
Give me Malik Beasley. No.
That's not the centerpiece of a deal. Is not going to be some guy who is just a guy. That's
Correct.
Not happening. I feel pretty secure in that. The second part is I feel pretty secure that Morey is going to do something. I think he does recognize we have a team here that is competitive. We're right there, and we just need something. The problem is how you get that something. That's where, the whole Tobias Harris thing, does he churn his focus to say, forget Ben Simmons, I'll just let him rot. Let me go get Tobias Harris, a replacement for him.
Well, Mike, there's a scenario they could trade both. You could trade both Tobias and Ben in a massive deal with multiple teams.
That's a massive, massive deal because of the money.
Sure, but guess what? There's a lot of massive contracts. Like Domantas Sabonis is a massive contract. What's
Sabonis get paid?
I have to double check, but I'm pretty sure he's getting close to Tobias money.
So, because Tobias and Ben, you're looking at almost $70 million worth of contracts that would need to come back your way. Look, if you trade Tobias Harris, that opens up the mindset for me anyway to say, okay, now I can add a couple of pieces. If you trade one Tobias Harris away, I don't want to see Georges Niang be the starting guy, so you can get me a guy that's going to play a lot of the Tobias minutes. I'd be okay with that, and especially if it was Domantas Sabonis. You put Sabonis and Embiid together, that's a handful for teams because Sabonis can shoot from the outside, but he's also a handful in the paint.
So Sabonis right now is making $19 million a year.
That's not as much as.
But here's the thing:
you'd have to include another player.
He's super max eligible after this year, and that's part of the reason why the Pacers want to get rid of him.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, there's a guy like him that you're gonna, obviously move money around. But
then the Sixers are in the position. See, Morey has to consider that though. The Sixers put themselves in position where then they have to think about super maxing Sabonis. You think they want to super max Sabonis?
Well, who would you rather pay big money to, Tobias Harris or Domantas Sabonis?
Well, I like Sabonis better than I like Harris. So I don't know that I don't like the problem with the NBA is I don't like any of these guys on max deals. They just keep getting them because that's the league. But I don't want to pay Sabonis a max deal if I don't have to.
You got to pay somebody the money. So I'm just saying, who would you rather pay? Like, to me, people always talk about, and you know how they are. They text us on the text board at 609-403-0973. They DM us through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. They watch us on YouTube. They hit you up and harass you on Twitter, Mike, at Mike Gill Show. They all say the same thing. He doesn't deserve that money. Well, guess what? Everyone gets paid that money. So you got to pick the devil you're comfortable with.
Yeah. The problem is the Simmons contract just sitting there doing nothing. It's okay for this year. You can say we're going to try to make this work for the year if he doesn't play this year, but you still got to have a long-term vision to say, okay, I still have Joel Embiid here in his super max prime years.
Right.
And are we going to go back to training camp next year and go through this BS again? There's the problem. You don't have an answer to that question.
It's a huge problem.
You have Ben Simmons, what is he, $35 million contract, just staring at you, laughing at you in the face.
Well, the only consolation is that Ben Simmons makes less money than Tobias. So Tobias is making about $35 million a year. I think Ben's around 32. I'm going to double check here.
I think that goes up, though.
Well, he has the one escalator, but he can't hit the one escalator because he's not playing. So
just think about this ridiculousness that you have a grown man not playing and not getting paid. There was Andrew Brandt, who used to be a GM in the NFL, and he's a sports business guy, tweeted last night about, the Texans have a guy who's getting paid to not play.
Yep.
Right? Deshaun Watson. He has no charges against him. Now, we know there's a lot out there. I'm just saying. So, to which I tweeted back to him, is Rich Paul his agent? Like, you've got this guy getting paid to not play in Houston. John Wall getting paid to not play in Houston. Like, can you imagine, like, these guys are just getting paid to not do anything? Now, Simmons is a different situation because those guys are getting paid to not do anything. Simmons is a little different because, I don't know, is he getting paid now? Is he not getting paid? Where the hell does that all stand?
Well, the latest is that they're still finding him because apparently he's not showing up to certain meetings.
That was about it, but that was like a month or so ago. Now, I was there the night apparently he was in the building on the night against Minnesota. I don't know where. I haven't heard anything since then. That was like 2 Saturdays ago.
Right. That was a while ago. By the way, so Ben is going to make in the final year of his contract, if he meets all of his prerequisites, over $40 million.
That's tough to swallow.
Yeah.
Sabonis is not having a great year this year, by the way.
No, he's not. But you got to think part of that might be because he's on a bad team.
Why is the team bad, though? They weren't. I mean, they were average, but why is that team all of a sudden bad? I mean,
some people say it's Carlisle. Some people say it's Carlisle went in there, tried to force feed his offense into them.
All right. I mean, Sabonis is, he's averaging. I don't like to just look at the points per game because he's at 18 points a game, but he's not shooting the ball well at all. I mean, he's 30% from 3 this year. That's not very good at all.
No, but also remember they played part of this season without Malcolm Brogdon, so him and LeVert had to pick up some of the shooting load. By the way,
LeVert's played 19 games. Brogdon's played 22. I mean, and Sabonis has played 26 games.
Yeah, there was a couple game stretch where Brogdon had to miss a couple games. I think he was in COVID protocol.
No, I know he did. He's missed, and LeVert's missed some, but it's not like they've missed the entire.
Right, they haven't missed the entire year.
Look, I have no problem with Indiana. I don't know how they didn't see that at the beginning of the year, just saying, hey, it's time for us to blow this thing up and start over. So you're giving me Sabonis, though, who's 25 years old.
And Tobias Harris is 29.
Yeah, and Sabonis, like, he's having a bad shooting year this particular season, but in general, he's a 31% three-point shooter. That's not as good. I thought he was better from there. Maybe he just has good games against the Sixers, for God's sakes. I feel like he's always hitting stuff against them.
I feel like he's always killing the Sixers.
Yeah. It's because if he doesn't shoot it that well, I mean, Harris is at least a 38, 39% three-point shooter.
Right.
His problem is he can't put the ball on the floor very well.
Right. And that's where, whoever they upgrade this team with, they got to get someone who can get their own shot, Mike, right?
You would hope.
You
That's
would
that's the missing key here, man. They don't have a guy that, hey, I need to put the ball on the floor, and that's why Embiid does what he does, because he has to, by proxy, has become that guy. All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. I'm Mike Gill, live here at Chickies and Pete's in Atlantic City. The Sports Bash on this Thursday edition. It's brought to you by Matt Blatt Kia. They want to get you approved today. Matt Blatt, 6211 Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township. We are live today in Atlantic City's Chickies and Pete's. And Thursday Night Football is here tonight. It's Minnesota and it's Pittsburgh. Sixers here tonight. It's Sixers and it's Jazz. And the Flyers, no, they played last night, the Flyers. Lost last night to the Devils 3-0.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, same old Flyers. This is ugly, man. 10 straight losses. I'll get into that in just a little bit as well. All right, more Sports Bash on the way. Your text messages throughout the day. Download the free mobile app. Message us through the phone if you're listening on the app, 609-403-0973. If you're listening on the radio, 609-403-0973. Text us there, and we'll be back with more Sports Bash. Don't go away. 2:31 on the Sports Bash on a Thursday. I'm Mike Gill. Got some text messages I want to react to. You can hit me up if you're listening on the mobile app. Through the app on the phone, just hit the message us button there. If you're listening on the radio in the car or wherever, don't have to be in the car, I guess. 609-403-0973 is the text message. Text us through your phone, 609-403-0973. Message us through the mobile app. Or if you're watching the show live on the video stream on our YouTube channel, our Twitter page, you can message us through there. Mike Hill here. Josh Henning producing the show. He's back at the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. I'm at Chickies and Pete's in EHT. South Philly, what's that say? South Philly Sadat is watching the show on YouTube. Says, Mike, I would really like a deal with the Spurs for DeJounte Murray and picks. Murray's a young stud point guard. How do you feel about that, Mike? I'm warming up to Murray more. Here's the problem I have with that. What am I doing with Maxey? Right? Did I lose you, Josh? Are you gone?
You're on the radio. Just the StreamYard's having some issues.
Okay. I don't see you. I see myself in the StreamYard. I don't see you in the StreamYard.
Yeah, you have disappeared from my StreamYard.
Okay. Well, it says that I'm in the StreamYard, so I don't know. Anyway.
Lovely.
Murray, yeah, it says that you are not connected.
Yeah, my side says you're not connected. So how about them apples?
I will leave the studio and then come back in. Murray, I'm liking Murray more. He's having a pretty good year this year. The problem I have with Murray is, what do I do with Maxey?
I honestly like Maxey more.
I like Maxey more than Murray too. Here's the issue. I don't like a lot of problems with Maxey. He's not a good defensive player. And it's hard to pair him up with somebody in the backcourt that cannot, like Maxey, I'm sorry. Maxey is not a great defensive player. He's okay. He's average. Murray, probably a little bit better defensive player than Maxey is. But I don't see how you play those two guys together. And there becomes the problem is, you trade Ben Simmons for Murray, you're getting a player who is essentially now. Look, Maxey's not a point guard. That's not what he should be first. I mean, but he's small, right? And then you have Curry. Okay, then what happens to Curry? The issue keeps becoming what happens to Murray. What happens with Maxey? What happens with Curry? That's right. the thing that keeps coming up here.
Well, I would ask. Is there a possibility if you were to acquire Murray, who's I think he's about 4 years older than Maxey, because Murray's 25 and Maxey's 21. Is it something where if you somehow got Murray, would you start him and maybe turn Maxey into your sixth man?
It's a possibility, but I mean, at this point, are we looking at Tyrese Maxey as a guy off the bench? Like, is he a sixth man? Is he a super scorer off the bench? I mean, I guess that makes your team deeper, He's a little bit bigger. I mean, I think Murray's like 6'4", 6'5". I mean, so he's bigger than Maxey is.
Yeah, Murray's a bigger, like, physical body, thicker, taller, all that stuff.
It's definitely somewhat appealing. He's scoring what? I'm having some internet problems here, but I'm gonna take a guess. He's averaging like 19 a game, somewhere in that range, I think. I mean, I've watched a lot of Spurs. And I keep saying, yeah, this kid Murray is definitely opening my eyes a little bit more than he, at the beginning of the year, I would have shot it down immediately and said, no, I'm not trading him for Murray.
Yeah, Murray's currently averaging just under 19 points a game at 18.8.
It's a pretty good guess by me.
It is. Also, he's shooting 45% from the field. He's shooting 34.4% from three.
Not great, but
free throws are concerning. He's still hanging around that 69 percentile.
Not great.
Whereas in past years, he was shooting 79%.
Okay, so he has it in him. He's not a complete. Yeah, I mean, in the past, Murray, to me, was just not on the level to say, I can trade Ben Simmons and I'm going to get DeJounte Murray back and he's going to be an impact player for me. He certainly has. I think he's gotten better. He's taken steps this year doesn't shoot it great. The line thing is a little concerning, but I mean, you said he shot almost 80%, so he's got it in him.
Right.
It just goes back to the question I have, and you know, South Philly. I appreciate the question. Am I back in the stream? I don't know.
You are still so right now. You are currently you're there, but there's no video, there's no audio coming from you.
So weird. All right,
it is very weird.
So to answer the question, my question is almost another question: is what happens to Maxey? What happens to Curry?
Yeah, my assumption would be you would keep Curry in the starting lineup. You bring Maxey off the bench, let him be kind of like, you know, Doc Rivers for years coached guys like Jamal Crawford and Lou Williams. You know, I could see Maxey playing that role at least for a year or two.
Mm-hmm. Mike, this is from Gene in Cape May Courthouse. He says, Mike, I agree with a lot of what you're saying about Joelle Embiid, but when they're up by 10 to 12 points with 4 minutes left in the game, there's no reason for him to be coming down shooting three-pointers. Run the shot clock down, get the ball in the hands of the ball handler. It's an undisciplined basketball, and they do it all the time. Go Sixers, great show. Gene from Cape May Courthouse. It's like, I feel like Gene's comment sounds like it makes sense, but in today's game, these games, like a 10-point, when I was a kid, a 10-point game seemed insurmountable. A team would be down by 10, and you'd be like, dude, there's just no way they're coming back. A team could be down by 10 with a minute and a half left in the game, and you're like, oh my God, they got to close this game out still. You know what I mean? So I think Gene's mindset is of, hey, it's a 10-point game. This game is over. Like, run the ball, like in basketball, like in football. Just run the clock, run the ball. And I don't know that that's the case anymore. A 10-point game evaporates in 2 possessions now, 2 threes, and it's back to a 4-point game.
Well, that gets back to what we talked about. You were just talking about the other side of that is it's not how they run the offense. It's how they run the defense, because Maxey and Curry, as you just stated, Mike,
awful.
They're just not a good defensive backcourt. So if you don't have the defensive players to hold that double-digit lead, what's the point?
Josh, they are a horrible perimeter defensive team. And you know what else they are? Like, Joelle Embiid doesn't come out on the screens at all. He just slides back in the paint. Right. So they get hammered by any guard. Like Curry, they're going to play Curry on Saturday night. How many threes does he need to break that record?
He needs 10 more.
He might get it because if he doesn't step out ever on that there. You watch him, he just slides back. I mean, Oubre couldn't hit anything last night. He stinks. You know, they don't have a three-point shooter that can, like, change the dynamics of a game. I thought Gordon Hayward, by the way, was playing like Utah Gordon Hayward.
I know. What happened? I was so confused last night. On Monday, he couldn't hit a shot. Last night, he hit everything.
Right. He was unbelievable last night. But Maxey and Curry are just dreadful. And as this is going on, you're starting to more how much Simmons on the perimeter. You're starting to see how much you lose creating turnovers on the defensive end of the floor and them turning into offensive buckets. Their guards don't rebound a lick. The Sixers have got to be one of the worst rebounding teams in the league.
Well, that's why DeJounte Murray is actually appealing as well, because he averages 8 rebounds a game. Okay,
now that's something, because they've got to be, I don't know where they are. I mean, Drummond's a rebound machine, but other than him, I mean, even Embiid's not a great rebounder for his size and physicality. He's just not a good physical rebounder. They have got to be one of the worst rebounding teams in the league, man. Their guards don't rebound a lick. Maxey and Curry don't rebound at all.
I'm checking it for you right now.
I mean, so missing Simmons in that area is very noticeable.
It's definitely noticeable. Right. By the way, the Sixers are 28 in the NBA in rebounds per game as a team.
Right.
They're averaging 42.6. Just for those who were wondering, by comparison, The best rebounding team in the NBA is the Milwaukee Bucks at 47.7. Right behind them are the Memphis Grizzlies at 47.5. So that's a 5 rebound difference per game.
And they play Memphis on next Monday night, so they're going to be in trouble in that game.
Oh, they're going to get wrecked.
I mean,
on the glass.
They don't rebound a lick. The
Mike,
guards,
the Warriors are even averaging 47 rebounds a game.
the Sixers guards don't rebound at all.
Not
At all. All right, Sports Pass Live, 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. Hey, if you have fantasy football questions, we're going to start compiling those for Sky Guasco. He's going to join us in an hour. So send them in via text, 609-403-0973. If you're listening on the free mobile app, you can text us over there as well. And we'll do that coming up in 1 hour here on the Sports Pass Live on 97.3 ESPN. Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. Download the app in the Apple Store, Google Play. A lot of texts coming in. I'm looking and I'm open to any ideas on what the Sixers can do to improve this team. If you have something, I'm willing. I'm open ears. South Philly Sadat follows up by saying he's watching the show on YouTube. Now, can he hear me on YouTube?
He can hear you, but we just have trouble seeing you.
Okay, that's fine. Because I was wondering how he was asking me another question if he couldn't hear me.
Yeah, people can hear you the whole time because you're through the radio. It's just the video side just is not there.
Gotcha. He says, Maxey will go to the bench, Mike. Murray's a better point guard than Maxey. Oh, I agree that Maxey's not, I said that. Maxey is not a traditional point guard. So then what happens is it kind of spawned off my next question is what happens to Curry? Because then, okay, you're saying Maxey goes to the bench. Okay, fine. So then how many minutes is Maxey getting? How many minutes is Curry getting? How many, you know what I'm saying? Like, it becomes one of those things where somebody's minutes are getting cut, essentially. Right. Now, if you're okay playing Maxey, what?
22 minutes a game?
22 minutes a game, right. I was going to say 22, 24 minutes a game. You're okay playing him 22, 24, then that deal makes sense. I mean, Curry's getting how many minutes a game right now? You can cut him by like another 2 minutes, maybe. And then the three of them are basically the problem is, no, not the problem. I mean, Murray's a better defensive player than Maxey. Maxey stinks defensively. He's terrible.
Curry is currently averaging 34 minutes a game.
Okay, so Curry, you're down 30. You're playing him 32 minutes a game. Maybe if he's shooting the ball well, he gets, I don't know. I mean, those three guys, so then the question becomes, well, I guess you're trading Simmons in this deal. You would trade Simmons for Murray, so then he's out of the mix.
And there's a lot of speculation the Spurs have been craving Simmons for years, so.
Is this a straight-up deal, I'm wondering? Oh, he said, and picks.
Well, remember, a lot of these deals that have been rumored out there are going to involve other assets, whether it's players or picks in some way or another. For example, the deal that Portland turned down last year, the Drew Holiday deal, was Drew Holiday and picks for CJ McCollum, and Portland said no.
Yeah, things have changed so much, right?
Right. 1.5 years, everything gets flipped on its head.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll tell this to the listener. If you would have asked me that question 2 months ago, I wouldn't have been interested. I'm at least willing to listen to that deal now. Murray's at least opened my eyes a little bit and said, all right, is he Ben Simmons? No,
but he does play better defense, like you said, than Maxey. He averages 8 points and 8 rebounds a game.
Yep.
He's somebody who at least shoots better than Ben Simmons overall. So he's going to probably give you more than Ben Simmons all around. He's obviously not as good of a defender as Ben Simmons, but who is?
Would you guys like it if we traded Ben for someone like Westbrook, if that was possible, plus some picks? Well, Westbrook's going to have to be a December 15th guy because he was traded in the offseason. That's
correct.
1. 2, no, I don't love that deal.
I don't think Westbrook makes sense for this team. This team needs a guy who's going to be better on the perimeter than Westbrook is. Westbrook is a freight train downhill.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember last year when he was crying. Was it you in an All-Star this year? Not even. I don't know what the heck. What are you reading that text message?
I'm looking at a little closer here. I
don't know if you remember last year when he was crying. You was in an All-Star this year or last year, not even close. Mike or Josh?
He's talking about Ben Simmons?
Maybe Tobias?
I mean, I don't remember anybody particularly crying about it. I remember a lot of people felt that Tobias should have been an all-star instead of Julius Randle.
I think that, but I don't know what his point is. I think the point is that I'm making is Harris was an all-star level player. Did he make the all-star game? No, who cares? But he was playing at a much higher level. He is not even in consideration for the all-star game right now. That's one of their problems.
Tobias's drop-off this year in terms of just his production, in terms of just so many things, it just feels extreme, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, he had COVID.
But even before he had COVID, he just wasn't himself.
I contend, and I said this yesterday, that the guy who's missing Simmons the most is Harris. I thought it would be Curry, and maybe Green. I mean, Green's kind of whatever. I thought Curry, but the reason Curry isn't suffering as much is because Curry went out and improved his game. He can put the ball on the floor now.
Right.
He's not a one-dimensional player. If he's just a one-dimensional player, I think he's affected by Simmons not being here either. But the fact now, what you see Curry do a lot more this year is he catches the ball, he's got a defender there, he'll pump fake and put the ball on the floor. He wasn't doing that as much in the past.
Yeah, I think Tobias right now, he's 29 years old now. He regressed from last year to this year. I understand it's only 16 games he's played, but when you have a drop off of 8% from 3-point range, it's noticeable.
Oh, I said this yesterday. One of the big things with him that I'm noticing is his indecisiveness. I actually thought he was more decisive last night for whatever reason. He was catch, shoot, less dribbling, less putting the ball on the floor. He's putting the ball on the floor way too much. Not a good, doesn't have a good handle. I mean, he's not Robert Covington when it comes to ball handling, but man, he's pretty close.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's as bad as Rocco, but listen, there is something to be said for the fact that there is a lot of speculation out there that apparently if you get COVID, there's something they're calling the Coveted Fog now, where these athletes, there's a point in time where they fully recovered, like physically, but mentally their mind is just drained.
From what?
From having COVID. Like it just exhausts your mental faculties.
Yeah, I mean, that is, I think, look, that could be anything. I mean, you could talk to 3 people who have COVID and say it didn't bother me at all. Talk to 3 other people and say it was the worst experience I ever had.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess Harris said he had, it was pretty bad.
Right.
But Embiid said the same thing, and Embiid seems to be all right.
Well, Embiid did have that one bad game, so.
Well, one bad game. I mean, he scored the last 3 games. He's got about 75. I mean, he had what, 42 the other night?
Yeah, the overtime game, he had the high score.
I'll give him a bad game every once in a while if he's going to play like that for most nights.
Yeah,
look, his bad
his
game is the Minshew mania. He only has one every once in a while.
Yeah, the Celtics game, he had 13 points.
Yeah, I mean, that happens every once in a blue moon, but geez. I mean, he carried the team the last really 3 games to win. The last 2, really. I mean, against the Hornets, he just absolutely carried them.
By the way, the Sixers are now 11-3 when Joelle Embiid plays this year.
11-3 when Embiid plays. So do they need help? Or are they just no, just kidding. No, it's a shame because they're really good. 11-3 without the guy, but obviously they're not good enough. I don't know how you fix that right now. Everybody's text messages I'm going to get to. I'm going to try to see if we can find a way to do it. 609-403-0973, 609-403-0973. Sports Bash this hour brought to you by Deborah Heart and Lung Center. When it's your heart, you don't take chances. Be sure to demand Deborah. All right, when we come back, we'll want to get into a little NFL with week number 14 starting tonight. Which teams this weekend have the most to lose? I want to get into that because it's an interesting schedule. We like to go over the schedule and say, who you're rooting for. There's a lot of games, not as many as you would think, though, that have impact on that NFC playoff race. We'll get into that coming up here on the Sports Bash. And if you have trade ideas on how to fix the Sixers, I'm all ears. Send them on over. We're live, hour number 2, Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN. I'm Mike Gill. Josh Henning back there producing today's show. NFL Week 14 tonight, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, here at live on 97.3 ESPN. Good conversation in hour 1. Sixers win last night, but I don't know, man. They're missing something. They got to find something out. They got to figure something out. If you have an idea, send it my way. We'll read them off. 609-403-0973. If you have a idea and you're listening on the app, you can send it to us there as well on the if you're listening on the app. Andrew in Galloway is listening on the app. Simmons and Maxey for Kawhi Leonard. Perfect fit.
What?
Not so sure the Clippers are interested in trading Kawhi Leonard, last I checked. But.
I mean, that deal doesn't even make sense.
Well, then you're trading both your point guards away for a guy who doesn't play point guard.
Right.
Now you have no point guard. I wonder if Andrew and Galloway tried that on NBA 2K.
Probably.
Did that go through?
That is definitely an NBA 2K trade.
I mean, I appreciate the attempt, but who's playing point guard?
Oh my goodness.
Right?
That's I'm shaking my head. I don't know. I can't take that seriously, Mike.
Mike, just like in the NFL, running the ball always works. The thing that drives me nuts with the Sixers is Joelle Embiid standing at the three-point line when there is no one that can cover him, especially late in the game. I know it's old school, but he should be under the basket and to the top. He is a fabulous free throw shooter. He should be either getting fouled every time we're scoring and abusing the other team, especially in the day and age when there's no centers that can cover him. Again, I agree that like he's dominant in that paint area, and there are some games where like he should do that more often. But if he did that every game, you're taking away the effectiveness and specialness of what he is. I will never condone just sticking his ass in the paint and saying play the whole game there. Then you're selling yourself short.
Yeah, I still hold to the idea that if Joel Embiid had a different cast around him, if he had more help, I don't think he would take some of the jump shots he's taking. I think there are times that he thinks, give me the ball. I have to score here.
By the way, what does he shoot from three? He's like a 38% three-point shooter, something like that.
This season or for his career?
This season.
This season.
His career, I would say he's probably around 34.
This season, Joel is shooting 40.8.
He's shooting 40% from three. What's the problem? I mean, I don't get it.
For his career, he's shooting 33.
If he wasn't 7'2" and he was just a guy who was 6'8" and he hit 40% of his threes, you'd be saying, man, we got one of the best three-point shooters in the league. I mean, I don't get it. Like
he is currently the third best three-point shooter on the team.
What, behind Curry and I'm going to say Niang?
Green.
Now, Green is the next. What's Green shooting from three?
42.
That's unbelievable. You know, I mean, people just hate that guy for whatever reason.
It's because he's not flashy. He's not sexy. He's not exciting. He's just a guy who goes out and does his job.
Yeah, I mean, I had the guy here earlier said Green stinks. Got to get rid of him. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to get into like a back and forth with him. But I'm thinking like, what has he done wrong? And then you tell me he shoots 42% from three. I feel like every time I watch Green, he's hitting threes. And then the one game I don't watch him, he's 0 for 5. And people are like, you've got to get him off the floor. He stinks. And I'm like, did you not watch him the other night when he was 3 for 5 from three-point range?
By the way, he's averaging 5 attempts from three per game.
And he's shooting 42%.
42%.
I mean, do I have a problem limiting his minutes a little bit? No. But you got a guy shooting 42% from three.
Well, Mike, he's only averaging 24 minutes a game. How much more are you going to limit him?
Right. And you said Embiid shooting 40% from three.
Yeah, 40.8.
Now, what I would agree with is that sometimes, you know, he takes a bad three-point shot when you don't need it.
Correct.
There's a possession when you're like, hey, you can get a bucket here. You can get fouled. You know, you can change, like, and he'll shoot a three instead. He definitely could get better shot selection at times, but in no way, shape, or form do I want to take that part of his game away.
Nah, because you don't want to. it would be like telling Hakeem Olajuwon that don't take the baseline jumper. It's like, no, that's part of his game.
Bill in EHT says Mike Murray is better all-around play, and if we could figure out a 3-team deal for Murray and Sabonis and trade Simmons and Harris. Well, yeah, if at the end of the day, look, if you told me at the end of the day you found a way to trade Harris and you got a lesser player for Simmons than I originally thought, but you got rid of Harris, I'm okay with that.
I mean, listen, it would take some gymnastics financially, but, there is a way you can make that happen. It's just you're going to have to take on maybe a contract or two you're not thrilled about.
Here's something interesting. Mike, last year, Tobias Harris, 19.5 points, 6.8 rebounds, 3.5 assists. This year, he's 19 points, 8.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists. So he's got the same amount of points. He's actually averaging 2 more rebounds and exactly the same assists. Don't see much drop off from last year, averaging almost 2 more rebounds this year. The numbers are the same. What's he shooting?
So this year, Tobias is shooting 31% from 3, whereas last year he shot
difference.
39%.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's your difference.
Also, his field goal percentage is going from 51% to 47%.
Way less efficient player so far this year.
So, yeah, okay, he's getting you more rebounds. But I would ask you, Mike, is he getting more rebounds because there's no Ben Simmons?
Is he getting more rebounds because there's no Ben Simmons? One, to get more rebounds because he's missing, and he's getting some of his own rebounds.
He's getting his own rebounds.
Right?
Oh, my goodness. By the way, his steals and block numbers are down, too.
Well, I mean, the number that you gave, that's like the number that he gives me is not surprising because his numbers in Philly have been similar to what he did in L.A., and we said he's not the same player here that he was in L.A.
Right.
Why? In L.A., he was making 42% of his threes.
Yeah, his career with the Clippers, he played 87 games, and he shot 42.6% from 3.
Yeah, that's what I said. 42% from 3 in L.A. Here, when he came here in the trade, the first year when he came over here in the trade, he immediately was not the same.
Right. He dropped all the way to 32%.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I had to sneeze. I'm having some major issues out here right now. Sorry. Technology
just hates us today, Mike.
Yeah, so I apologize if I'm a little slow on the trigger today or if I sound like I'm a little subdued. I perpetually feel, and I haven't had any allergy problems for like ever. Like my allergy problem was fixed, all taken care of. Like I haven't had any issues. But today, for whatever reason, in the last like half hour, I feel like I have like a feather, like someone's taken a feather and just like inside my nose and just like going back and forth. And it's really irritating. I don't know what the problem is, but I'll do my best.
I mean, for all you know, you might have just sniffed up a little pot of dust and just stuck in
man. There. It's crazy. My eyes are watering over here. I'm like, I feel like I'm like, whatever. I'm going to try to concentrate as much as I can.
Well, at least the video people can see you again, which is always a plus.
Okay, yeah, because Sky Guasco's asking me for the video link.
I'll send it to him. I got you.
Thank you.
Back to Tobias Harris.
So when Harris was in LA, he was 42%.
Right.
His numbers in Philly were similar, but he was not the same shooter. That was the problem, is he was only 32%. Now, the next year he came back last year, and he was much better. Last year at 3 points, a 3-point shooter, he was probably, 39, 40?
Last year he was 39%. The year before he was 36.
Yeah, the year before. So the first year he came over from the trade, 32. Then he was 36.
Then he got to 39.
Right. Last year, while his numbers looked very similar to the year before and what he did in L.A., the 3-point shooting, he was not as an efficient player. That's the difference.
Right.
So he's scoring 19 points a game, but he's taking more shots. He's missing more. He's not getting open looks.
He's turned into a volume scorer.
He's turning into he is a ball stopper on the offensive side of the ball. When he gets the ball, a lot of time, bad shot, missed shot. So he's getting more touches. That's the problem. Because Simmons isn't here, he's getting all these touches. That's why his points are up, but his efficiency's down.
And honestly, I'd rather him be more efficient and take less shots than be a guy that you're constantly leaning on, because he can't really create his own shot.
No, now Dr. Paul, who took care of my allergies, he just texted me and said, "You got those allergies again?" No, I don't. I just today, out of the clear blue sky. I gotta say, I have not had any problems with my allergies since I went down there. No issues, period. And then today, out of nowhere, something must be in here that I don't know. I said it's very hard to focus. I'm almost dizzy. It's like odd.
Well, it didn't help that we had
Whew.
part of the first hour of the show where you were trying to figure out why the internet wasn't working.
All right, let me. I got a lot of text messages today. Mike, another option's Wiggins and picks. If Golden State would do that deal, Wiggins been balling hard this year, and you can slide Wiggins into the 3, sit Green. So you're saying Simmons for Wiggins? Is
that deal will not
deal?
happen. Joe Lacob, the owner of the Warriors, got fined by the NBA because he said the reason why they wouldn't trade for Ben Simmons was because him and Green are basically duplicates.
Right.
And the league fined him for tampering.
Yeah. Plus, I think Wiggins is one of those guys that needs culture. I think he has grown into the player that he's this year right now because of the culture. I'm not saying that the
100%.
Sixers culture is dog manure, but it's not like
it's not the Warriors.
Right, it's not the Warriors. You got a championship coach. Well, you got Doc Rivers. I guess he didn't win. He did win a championship with Boston.
No, I'm not talking about the coach. I'm talking about the players in the locker room.
Oh, no, but I'm saying you got a championship coach. You've got Curry,
Yep.
You've got Thompson, you've got Green, and they're all over that guy. Like, hey, dude, it's a confidence thing with him. I don't know that the Sixers have the right personnel to give him the confidence to say, look, you can be this great player. Like, if you trade him back to Minnesota, he's not all of a sudden the same Wiggins.
No.
So I think it sounds great to say, look, he's balling out there. I don't think he's balling the same here as he is there.
Nah. I think it's fair to say that Wiggins needs to be in Golden State to be his best self.
Yeah. So I see what your trade is, and I'm not like poo-pooing it, but I would be skeptical.
Yeah.
Ben Simmons trade to Sacramento for a package around De'Aaron Fox, Brandon, and Wildwood. Yeah, if Sacramento wants to do that,
well,
now where are they now?
Apparently, Sacramento's having a big question about what they want to do with their future, and they're starting to consider they need to blow it up again, which is ironic because they never made the playoffs with this roster, but fine.
Yeah.
How do you blow up a roster that hasn't been in the postseason? But
they fired their coach.
They fired their coach. The GM apparently is in trouble. Apparently the owner and him aren't seeing eye to eye
again.
Yeah, again, right? Sacramento is one of the biggest dumpster fires in the NBA.
Poorly run organization.
That's an understatement.
Mike, Embiid shoots 40% from the 3, but what's his percentage in the paint? I bet it's higher than 40. Teams want Embiid to shoot threes. He's balling. He's bailing the other team out when he spots up. I don't know what his percentage is in the paint, but someone texted in earlier that how low his field goal percentage is. So maybe he doesn't shoot that well from the paint.
Well, I mean, Embiid,
I think somebody texted in earlier that he's shooting 42% from the field.
Embiid's shooting 44% from the field this year,
which is not very good.
No, he
shoots 40% from 3 and 44% from the field,
which is the lowest of his career for field goal range.
Yeah.
But again, I would argue if he had different players around him, is he taking as many bad shots?
Probably not. No, he doesn't have there's not a creator on the team. That's one of the problems. He has turned into the creator. You notice him now getting the ball more at the top of the key and then clearing out and trying to get by guys himself. And then he misses and stuff like that ends up happening. I don't think it's like teams are asking Embiid to shoot threes. No, that's an asinine statement. If you watch them defend, if that was the case, they would defend him like Ben Simmons and say, go ahead and shoot it. Right. But he goes and pump fakes. This is where does that guy watch a game ever? I don't understand how you watch the game and then come up with that text message.
Here you go, Mike. I found the splits for Joelle Embiid shooting ranges.
But real quick.
Yeah.
Just to show how off base that comment is. If you wanted Embiid to shoot the three, you would defend him like Ben Simmons. Just say, go ahead and shoot it. We want you to shoot the ball because we're going to put a wall up here because we don't want you getting into the painted area because you're going to kill us in here. They defend him out there. And then if they wanted him to shoot the ball, if they said, look, we want you to shoot, you're bailing us out. When Embiid does that exaggerated ball fake, why the hell does anybody leave their feet if they want him to shoot?
Right.
I mean, could you, like, before you actually came up with that thought in your mind, did you actually say, you know what, maybe I should watch a game before I hit send on this text message? What defender would leave his feet and have Embiid blow past him if, in fact, he says, you know what, we kind of think you're bailing us out by shooting this three, which, by the way, listen how asinine this comment is, okay? People want Embiid to score twos. And now you're telling me that the other team would prefer you hit 40% of your threes rather than two. This league is all about three is better than two. No team wants you hitting threes. They'll give you the two. That's the point. If you want to go down the lane and dunk in our face, have at it, Hoss, because that's a two, and we'll go down the other end and hit a three. And three is always better than two. No team is preferring that you hit a three over a two. Go ahead.
So, as we mentioned, Embiid's shooting 40.8% from three. He's shooting 37% from 16 feet to the three-point line. He's shooting 41% from 10 to 16
Hold
feet.
on. Start again here.
So, he's shooting 40.8% from three.
40% from three, okay, which is, by the way, above league average.
He's shooting
by the way, if you're shooting 40% from three, above league average, nobody wants you shooting threes. If you're hitting 40% of your threes, teams are saying, we cannot let you keep hitting 40% of threes on us. Go ahead.
So then he's also shooting 37% from 16 feet to the three-point line.
See, that's the shot that I think he needs to lessen, is that one where he takes it's a step inside the three, it's off to the left-hand side, inside the rings.
Right.
That's the shot where he's off on like the wing, like foul line extended. That's the shot that he doesn't make with enough regularity for my liking. Go ahead.
Now, from 10 to 16 feet,
he's deadly.
He's 41%.
Nah, that's not as good as I thought, but that shot to me is what makes him beat Embiid. When he turns and faces up on you, and he's in a triple threat position of, am I going to go past you? Am I going to pull up? That pull-up jumper that he makes from 10 feet most of the time, I mean, you're saying 41. That's a little lower than I thought. That's the one where he's almost unstoppable when he's making that shot.
Now, here's the eyesore. 3 to 10 feet,
yeah,
he's 30%.
Right, exactly where everybody wants him, 3 to 10 feet.
So, literally, he doesn't make the shot that people want him to make.
Yeah, because he's getting doubled and triple teamed in the paint. I don't think people watch any of these games. I mean, it's crazy. Embiid's strongest point is down in the paint. Now, you could say he could get to the line and he's missing those shots and he's going to the line. But teams will say, we'll put you at the line. If you make two, great. They don't want you making three. Like, I don't understand how people don't get that in today's basketball game. Right?
Yeah. And the other thing is, so Joelle Embiid, by the way, for those who are wondering, on dunks and layups, he's shooting 73%.
Dunks and layups. The 73 sounds low. I mean, dunks and layups, he should be 90. Jeez.
Well, apparently he's missed some and gotten fouled. So
Gotcha. The 41% number is surprising to me. The fact that he's down in 3 to 10.
Now that's only this year. That's not for his career.
Gotcha.
So we're just breaking down this season of
the three and in, like that area there. 3 to 10. That's not as surprising because he gets doubled so much. He's got two guys there. He's trying to split doubles. He misses. He's got to get the putback. You see that happen all the time to him because he's constantly trying to get through doubles. He's got 4 arms up in his face. Right. So I question all the time. I hear these texts and see that. I'm like, dude, do you guys watch the game? Like, are you not watching the game? Or are you just looking at a box score or what? Like, when he's down in the paint, he's getting double teamed like 75% of the time, I'd say. I don't know. Keith Smith's going to talk a little NBA with us coming up. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. 609-403-0973. Got a couple more texts we'll address here on the other side. Keith Smith and then Sky Guasco today with the Fantasy Fix. If you have a question for Sky for the Fantasy Week number 14, send it in now, 609-403-0973, 609-403-0973. Back with Keith Smith here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. All right, 327, Keith Smith, SpotrackRack.com, set to join us as we take a look at some NBA stuff. Sixers 3 in a row. Embiid just playing beast mode, but something's missing. What can they do? What's realistic now? Daryl Morey just sitting in the weeds. That and more with Keith. A couple text messages, by the way. Mike, give him some time. The COVID will screw you up for a bit. I think there's a chance he could still be in the All-Star game this year. You're talking about Tobias Harris. Now, I don't know that Harris is – his numbers, the shooting percentage is way off this year, 31%. That's the big difference for Harris. His numbers are the same, just not as efficient of a player. But let's get Keith's take on what's going on all over the NBA. This Eastern Conference kind of getting interesting. I thought the last couple of nights, Keith, man, that Charlotte team's going to be interesting. They're playing without 5 guys and hung in there both nights. I mean, you would think when they get those guys back, that team should be, in the mix this year, right? Right. I mean, I was impressed with what they did and then seeing who was out for them. So, and then what does that say about the Sixers to you? I mean, they're on the road. I mean, they've won 3 straight on the road. They're back-to-back in Charlotte, which is an oddity in the schedule. But, I mean, people are like, hey, you struggled to beat a team without 5 of its guys. So what is the takeaway from where Philadelphia is watching the way, they struggled with a depleted Charlotte team? Um, Obviously, by the way, you make an interesting point about Charlotte. They cut the rotation. Why don't more teams do that? Why do teams feel the need that they got to play, 8, 9, 10 guys? Keith Smith's with us here. We're looking at the NBA, and obviously, things are. It sounds anyway like things are about to start heating up here. We got the 15th, next week? Players can be. It opens up the trade possibilities, but Dame Lillard was pretty impactful with what he said last night. But what's Portland going to do? Is that a team that you have your eye on because they got a no GM situation, new GM or no GM really? The GM Neil O'Shea fired. An interim out there, but is that a team that you have your eye on? Yeah. Obviously you mentioned Indiana, the Portland thing. Dame Lillard says, look, I'm not asking to be traded. Does Portland go to him and say, you might not be asking, but we might be telling you it's time? Right. Yeah, it's that's going to be interesting here. And then how much has really the McCollum injury handcuffed Portland a little bit here? Yeah. Couple quickies here as we look at one would be, I guess, when the Lakers decided to go get Westbrook, what was their thought? Like, why did they think that was going to work? All right, last one. We got a lot of questions, obviously, with Simmons, obviously, still here. We haven't heard much on that front. But do you think once the 15th gets here that teams will start calling and making offers to Philly? If maybe Philly's sitting on their hands now and waiting, do they think when the 15th gets here that they will start getting calls? All right, Keith Smith, always great, man. The NBA, as soon as we get to Christmas, things start to really heat up. At this year, the 15th, it might even start earlier. Keep an eye on that. Sixers tonight against Utah. This feels like a built-in loss. 3-game road trip back home, back to back. Although Utah played last night too, but not feeling great about where this one is. Keith, we'll talk to you next week, pal. As always, and at Keith Smith NBA on Twitter. When we come back, it's your chance to jump on right now. 609 403 0973. 609 403 0973. The Fantasy Fix with Sky Guasco. Keep your fantasy questions rolling in. Get your fantasy football questions in. They start tonight. Many of your fantasy playoffs start next week, maybe even some this week. If you have a fantasy football question, Sky answers it. Coming up next here on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. All right, we're back here on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app, and Sky Guasco is back from the Candlestick Kids Fantasy Football Podcast, and, of course, our Fantasy Fix here on a Thursday. It is brought to you by the Piccalilli Inn, your best pick for South Jersey's best wings, Route 206 in Chemung. Let's bring them in. Get your questions continued on the text board, 609 403 0973. We'll try to answer as many questions as we can on this Thursday. We got Thursday night football action tonight. It's Minnesota and it is Pittsburgh. Sky Guasco, what's up, man?
What's up, Mike? Great to be back. It is crunch time, last week of the fantasy football regular season before we get into playoffs. I'm ready.
Yeah, man. So Thursday night tonight's very interesting. There's a big question in this game tonight, too, that we'll get to. But give us some thoughts on Pittsburgh, Minnesota. Who should be active tonight?
All right, so Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison's really what everyone's concerned about. Dalvin Cook right now, I mean, it's a few hours, so kickoff, of course. Game time decision, we hate that as fantasy managers, but we don't have a choice here. If Dalvin Cook is active, you play him, should get 20 touches. If he's not, Alexander Madison is the must. You just have to play the audible there, unfortunately. Jefferson is a must start. He's been absolutely on fire, 200 yards last week, nearly crushing it without Thielen. Adam Thielen out tonight. Cousins, Osborne, and Conklin streamable for the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you must, Big Ben is a streamable option. Superflex, Najee and Deontay Johnson are must plays. Claypool and Freiermuth can be spotted as well if you need a streamer. And both kickers, if you play in kicker leagues, are good in my book as well.
All right, so let's break that down. Cook, Madison, if they are both active, you're saying you should go with Cook. What about Madison owners?
Yeah, I think you're stuck. I mean, the Vikings, look, over the years, Cook misses a couple games every single year. He's nicked up constantly. When Cook is active and he's the number one guy, he is the number one guy. Madison gets a few touches. Might be different tonight, but I can't predict that, and it's going to be frustrating. So if you only have Madison and Cook is active, I would not play Madison on Thursday night. I would audible somewhere else. If Cook is out, then, of course, you got to roll Madison.
Yeah, and it looks like that Cook's going to give it a go, it looks like, the last that we heard. I mean, It's 3:47 in the afternoon. Giants players with Glennon, how does that change the receivers and that crew?
Well, I know this isn't popular with your fan base, Mike, but I'm not excited about the Giants anyway, even with Daniel Jones.
It's very popular with our fan base. Don't you worry.
All right, fair enough. Then with Daniel Jones out and Mike Glennon also getting a concussion last week, he's questionable, trending the right direction for Sunday. 23 of 44 for 187, no touchdowns and a pick last week versus the Dolphins, going up against a Chargers defense who's 27th against fantasy quarterbacks and allow only 200 passing yards, which is 7th best in the NFL, going across the country to the West Coast to play in LA. I'm not excited about this for anybody. And Saquon, I guess you play him just in case, but no other pass catcher am I excited about for the Giants. It's tough, but that's where I'm at.
All right, Javonte Williams, what's a safe play? What are you telling people with him?
Yeah, he's my man. He was my preseason rookie guy outside of Najee. And look, it happened 14 weeks late, but it happened. And Melvin Gordon probably going to play this week. They will probably go back to splitting time, but they were about 50-50, 60-40. I think that sways, though, to Javonte Williams over Melvin Gordon moving forward. The kid's just elusive. 25 fantasy points last week, and he didn't score. I mean, that's Christian McCaffrey type stuff. I'm not saying he's McCaffrey, but that's pretty impressive. And this kid's amazing. So I think they give him the rock more. They should, at least.
All right. What about Hubbard in Carolina now? It looks like he's the primary back, but the coordinator's gone. Is he a safe play?
Yeah, I think this week in particular, Hubbard is a safe play. Joe Brady, of course, ousted because they weren't running the ball enough with Cam Newton or Chuba Hubbard, frankly. And I think he's going to be safe against Atlanta this week. Atlanta's 7th most fantasy points against running backs. My concern, though, is through the playoffs. He has the worst fantasy schedule for running backs throughout the playoffs. So I'm not excited about him after this week. But if you need to win and get in and Hubbard's your running back 2 or 3, I think you can fire him up.
Okay. What is the Tennessee backfield situation now?
Oh, man. This one's been a conundrum for the whole season without Henry, unfortunately. I guess you roll with Foreman. they just released Adrian Peterson. He gets picked up by Seattle immediately, right? So he's now running in Seattle. If anybody, you got to go with Foreman, but I'm not excited about that offense. Julio Jones may give it a go this week, which is nice. A.J. Brown's still out. If Julio's in there, that should help the run game a little bit. But unfortunately, Julio hasn't been Julio. So I'm also trying to stay away from Tennessee if I can.
All right, let's get some questions in. 609-403-0973. We'll try to pop off as many as we can here. Start with this one. Sony Michel, Darrell Henderson. Which of those Rams should I go with?
Yeah, this is tough. Darrell Henderson last week was active but didn't have any carries. That's a real tough one. I'm probably going to go with Sony Michel here, and I don't really like it. But we saw this last year with Cam Akers, and as a rookie, once he came in and impressed, the Rams went away from Henderson. That could happen again with Sony Michel this year. If it's both of them, I guess you roll with Sony Michel.
He had a pretty good outing the last time there.
He did.
These questions, as the season evolves, man, it does get tougher and tougher to do things. All right, what about the Vegas backfield here? Jacobs, Drake. I feel like a lot of people are handcuffing these guys. This is where these questions are coming from.
Yeah, well, I'll make it easy for you. Drake's out for the year with a broken ankle. Unfortunately, he got injured. He's done. So it's Josh Jacobs.
Oh, let's go. Sorry, I didn't read the whole question. Should I expect more from Jacobs with Drake out? That's what it is.
Yep.
I didn't read the whole question. Sorry.
Not a problem. Of course. So you're going to get a few more touches, but the reality is Josh Jacobs probably, he's got touchdown upside. He is getting more involved in the passing game for the first time in his career, but he's not very efficient. I don't like those type of running backs. He's a great kind of running back too, to give you a nice 12, 15 point floor with a chance of a touchdown, but I don't think he's going to blow up any given week. So I would start him, but I'm not exactly thrilled against him against Kansas City. Their defense has been playing much better.
All right, this is Bomber and Galloway, first week of his playoffs. JT on a bye, PPR league, need 2. James Robinson, Hubbard, Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah, you roll Ayuk. He's been on fire. The 49ers have been playing very well lately. Deebo Samuel, even if he plays, I don't know that he's going to be 100%. So I'm good with Ayuk and PPR. And in PPR, James Robinson or Hubbard, I think you go with Hubbard. James Robinson, again, I mean, who knows what Urban Meyer's going to do. Still giving touches to Carlos Hyde, and James Robinson's the best player on the field, in my opinion, and he's not getting the extra work. So I think I would roll with Chuba Hubbard against the Falcons and Brandon Ayuk.
All right, Russell Gage, he had a couple big weeks. Should I stick with him for my playoffs?
Yeah, I think you can. Of course, that open-ended question is tough for me to answer, especially in a limited amount of time, because I don't know who your other options are. But if you're having to play Russell Gage type players, you're probably a little bit stuck at wide receiver. So yes, if he's your wide receiver 2 or 3 flex, I'm okay with that. Again, Calvin Ridley out indefinitely. Kyle Pitts has been shining, but not weekly. And Cordero Patterson's the entire offense, but he's in the backfield most of the time these days. So I'm okay with Russell Gage.
Got a couple questions about Chase, so I'll just kind of put it all into one. How concerned should you go into the playoffs with Chase? Is he a must play in the fantasy playoffs?
Well, I don't want to cop out here, Mike, but when you really dial in, nobody is a must play. Nobody is a must play. But in regards to Chase, T. Higgins has finally woken back up. That's my guy anyway. He's been on fire. Tyler Boyd's been playing pretty well. They're up against the 49ers this week, who's been pretty good against the pass recently. So no, he's not a must play. Again, without knowing the other weapons, I'm not sure if I would go Chase so you can tune into us on Sunday morning, Fantasy Focus on YouTube, to get those start sit questions answered specifically. But no, Chase and nobody else is a must start. You play the matchups. And right now, Higgins has the edge lately over the last 6 games.
Here's one for you. It is Mooney, who I know has played very well. Mooney or Lockett this week?
Oh, man, that's tough. Mooney is my guy every week, but Tyler Lockett has been playing on fire the last couple of weeks, outshining DK Metcalf. They're now tied with the Seattle Seahawks, are tied 84 targets apiece. We know that he has that big play potential. Not Russ yet, but he's getting better. Unfortunately, had that Niner game to wake up last week. Hate to see that. But Lockett's playing better. I'm going to roll with Lockett because I don't know who the quarterback's going to be in Chicago. And if it's Fields, he's going to run more. If it's Dalton, I don't trust him. So unfortunately, I got to fade my boy Mooney up against Lockett.
Okay, need 2. This will be our last question, then we'll get to your plays. Freeman, Hunt, or Cook Madison?
Hunt and Cook Madison. Cook Madison for sure. If you have both, then you're in a good spot. I know it's frustrating, but you're going to know an hour before kickoff. So play the starter out of Cook and Madison. And then I'm going to go Kareem Hunt. He was on fire, top 8 running back before he got hurt. And I don't trust Devonta Freeman or that offense right now for the Ravens.
Okay, there's two teams play each other, by the way, Cleveland and Baltimore. All right, Sky Guasco, the Fantasy Fix, of course, on Sunday mornings. You can get the start sits starting at 10 a.m. So if we didn't get to your question this week, but he's got a couple of thoughts, plays, favorite guys, waiver wires. The floor is yours.
Boom, here we go, folks. Starts of the week, quarterback position, Taysom Hill for the New Orleans Saints going up against the New Jersey Jets here. Jets giving up 26.8 fantasy points to running backs. I know he's a quarterback, but he runs the ball very effectively. Taysom Hill rushed the ball 11 times for 101 yards last week on top of his 264 passing yards. I know he threw 4 picks. First start of the year. I'm not worried about it. Shouldn't happen again against the Jets. I'm good with Taysom Hill, 10th most fantasy points against quarterbacks. Running back, CEH against the Raiders. He didn't play last time, but Darrell Williams' backup went for 11 for 43 on the ground, 9 catches, 101 yards, and a touchdown through the air against the Raiders. CH has seen 26 touches over his last 2 games, and that was against Dallas and Denver, top 10 defenses. The Raiders are 5th most likely to give up fantasy points to running backs. Wide receiver, tonight, KJ Osborne, kind of a sleeper for me against the Steelers. Adam Thielen out. He has seen 8+ targets in each of the last 5 games before his injury. Osborne in limited work has seen 75 yards in 3 of his games this season. He's a DFS play, wide receiver 3, if you need him as at number 2. Tight end, Dawson Knox against the Buccaneers. Knox has seen 7 touchdowns in 10 games. The Bucs are 7th in DVOA, meaning they're susceptible to the pass. I like the touchdown upside there for a tight end. And DST finally, the Packers against those Bears, top 6 DST 3 times in the last 6 games for the Packers. Defense is number 4 overall in NFL over the last 4 weeks. 8 sacks, 3 picks, 2 forced fumbles. And again, I don't trust either one of those quarterbacks. It's either rookie or Andy Dalton. I'll take the healthy Packers off a bye.
Okay, there he is, Sky Guasso, host of the Candlestick Kids Fantasy Football Podcast on the Believe Podcast Network. Sunday morning, their start-sit show starts at 10 a.m. live on YouTube. If we didn't get to your question, get up on Sunday morning and get all your questions in for the whole crew of the Candlestick Kids. And, of course, he'll be back next week. The fantasy playoffs will be underway. Sky, take care, man.
Win and get in, everybody. Good luck.
See, I'm in one of those leagues. We just play right to the end. No playoffs. I don't want my fantasy season ending early because I got knocked out. We just go right to the end. Best record wins it all. And my team's not best record right now. I got off to a great start in my fantasy. I was like 6-1, highest scoring team in the league, and then I don't know what happened. I can't figure out what happened. All of a sudden, I got Mahomes in the year that Mahomes is just kind of Justin Jefferson. I have Chase. He's been kind of, a lot of people asking questions about Chase. All right, football at 4 is on the other side. A lot of football to get into, including this Dallas-Washington matchup. Does Andrew DeCecco see it? We'll get his thoughts on that coming up next on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. I am live today at Chickies and Pete's in Atlantic City inside the Tropicana. And by the way, the Fantasy Fix is brought to you by the Piccalilli, Route 206 in Chemung, South Jersey's best pick for the best swings in South Jersey. Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, and it is brought to you locally, of course, by our friends over at Caesars Atlantic City Entertainment Group. Experience the ultimate sports destination all season long. Wild Wild West, Tropicana, Harris Resort, Atlantic City. Book your game day experience today at Caesars.com. I'm at one of the properties, Tropicana, which is home of Chickies and Pete's, which is my Thursday home in Atlantic City. And our Thursday home for Football at 4 is Andrew DeCecco. Eagles on the bye this week. We'll talk a little Eagles. We'll talk a little NFL. Got the big one on Sunday between Dallas and Washington. Got an interesting one tonight between Pittsburgh and Minnesota. I want to get a little thoughts on the Eagles at the bye week from Andrew DeCecco, who joins me now for Football at 4. What's going on, Andrew? How are you, pal? All is well. I know I want to kind of get some thoughts for you, Eagles at the bye week here. And, you know, I think most people, I want to get your take on Nick Sirianni, the head coach. We've been talking a lot about the quarterbacks and this and that. And here's a team that won 4 games last year. They're 6-7, playing meaningful games in the month of December. Do we feel the Eagles, I don't want to say hit a home run here, but that they have found their head coach? Is this a guy that has done a really good job and that is only getting better? Yeah, that's well put. And, you know, early in the season, I thought the game against Atlanta, I was very impressed. I said, man, this is a really good game plan. I really was excited. After that, not so much. I mean, there were times when I'm like, dude, this guy got an F. He was awful. And, you know, he has really turned the corner. If he has areas that he needs to still grow, and he's not perfect, what are some of the things that maybe over these last 4 weeks or, you know, over time that he still needs to get better at? Yeah, you know, it's interesting because, you know, you talked about the adjustments he's made as a play caller early in the season. And look, you could say he had to find out whether Hurts can be a guy who throws 30, 35 times. Maybe he stayed with that too long, but eventually he said, hey, I got a really good offensive line. Let me see if I can run the ball. Now finding that balance. But, I mean, I think, you know, time management hasn't been an issue. Like when he takes his timeouts, you know, I think he's very good with the challenges. Like it seems like the nuances of the coaching where a lot of like Andy Reid still hasn't figured out time management for God's sakes. And there's coaches that you're like, you know, what are you doing here? I think Sirianni, for being such a young, inexperienced guy, those parts, that part of being a head coach, you really haven't scratched your head about. And those are the areas where you think you would be scratching your head with a guy who's so inexperienced. Andrew, that is a great point because over the first 4, 5, 6 weeks of the season, they were the most penalized team in football, and it wasn't even close. There have been surpassed. I mean, that's how much they've cleaned it up. And this is a great example of why, people are saying this guy, they're undisciplined. That's his fault. They need to do something where, sometimes you just have patience. The guy's, a first-time head coach, let him figure his way out of it. Now, if it's perpetual all season long, at the end of the year, you say, look, this team was so undisciplined, that's a problem. But I don't know what he did to fix it, but you're right. They have really turned the corner with those dumb penalties. Right. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And, look, that has been a big factor here early in the season. You think about somebody wrote an article about this. I don't remember who it is to give them the credit, but they went back and looked at all the penalties and what they wiped off the board. How many touchdowns, how many points have been taken off the board? I mean, there's penalties and then there's penalties that take away points. How many times a touchdown or points were taken off the board because of how undisciplined they were? And you feel like, man, is this team that much further along than even, it appears? Yeah. Yeah, so with that, let's take a look at some of the things that need to happen for them to make the playoffs. Their offensive line, let's really start there. I read something today. Jordan Mailata has not allowed a sack or hit or pressure since week 7. That's how good he's been. Landon Dickerson, that side of the offensive line. Jason Kelsey, we'll see what happens with him. The right guard spot has been, Brooks is hurt, and we'll see what happens when he comes back. Driscoll's out. They're on their third right guard. But because of all the injuries last year, they've been able to kind of withstand losing some guys, and then Lane Johnson. So if they're going to make the playoffs, I would imagine they got to do it behind this offensive line. Yep. So the strongest unit is the offensive line. What's your strongest skill? Is it your running game, your tight end screen game that we saw last week, which we hadn't seen a whole heck of a lot of, 14 catches between the tight end and the running back last week? Obviously, the wide receivers need some, that they would probably be. But, like, if you're going down the stretch these last 4 games, are you sticking with this run game, or are you kind of balancing it out a little bit more, going to the pass game a little bit more, but using the tight end and using the running backs more? Well, that's Gainwell's an interesting guy. I'd like to hear your thoughts on him. I know you studied him a lot in the draft. I mean, is he a guy that they can utilize in more ways, like get more creative with him? Yeah. I'm glad you said that because I had been saying before, like, hey, I'd like to see Gainwell line up in the slot a little bit, maybe utilize him on the jet sweep, utilize him in the bubble screen, and you got a guy in Rieger who's got some confidence issues, doesn't have, let somebody else take those type of touches. And I think Gainwell would be a nice way to kind of manufacture more touches for him because, he's explosive, man. And when he gets his opportunity, he usually takes advantage of it. I just don't know that there's enough touches for him. Can they get Smith more involved, or is that just, hey, you're running the ball well, you got Goddard involved, that'll come eventually, or is there ways that they could do more with Smith? Because that's been the one thing is, hey, this is a weapon that you're just not utilizing right now. Yeah. Yeah, and then obviously kind of an overview, defensively, they've got, it seems, is it as simple as, hey, they've got Tyler Heineke twice, Daniel Jones or Mike Glennon one more time, and, Dak Prescott. They seem to do well when, against a guy like Tyler Heineke. It seems like that's a game that they should be, has the defense grown from those games where they just were completely outmatched by obviously was the better quarterbacks? You have any interest in Zach Cunningham? Yeah, I mean, he was a surprise. I mean, the guy just got a 4-year, $50+ million contract. He leads the league in tackles, and then the next year he's cut. I mean, you're thinking now. Apparently, he was disciplined for missing his COVID tests multiple times. So you wonder, what's going on there. But he was a second-round pick a couple of years ago, led the league in tackles, and you're thinking, man, why is this guy? You don't normally see guys walk in the streets at this time of the year that can help you out. That's all. Very productive. Yeah. Yeah. That was the one thing, he's a younger guy. But for them just to cut him like that, something must be going on there. But I mean, he was a guy who very good in pass coverage, got better, I thought, as a run stuffer. He led the league in tackles. Now this year, he's not having as good a year, to the point where David Culley yesterday said, "Did you have any thoughts about this?" He said, "Nope." I mean, they basically were like, "Get this guy out of here." So maybe he's just a bad dude. Who knows? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess Singleton has handled the extra snaps well, but if you could get him back to that third spot, and you finally, I'm thinking, because I saw this yesterday, I said, man, Cunningham could be a better version of what you were hoping Wilson was. I mean, a guy who's known for coverage more so than the stopping the run. All right, well, there you go. So somebody thought that he was worth it, because yesterday I'm thinking, man, I everything you just said, I thought, like, man, you want to bring a guy in who might be a bad guy. This seems like a good culture that's starting here. You got the young coach, and you want to bring a guy in it, and then, but he's really productive, but he just signed with the Titans. So there you go. All right, good stuff. Andrew DeCecco, give me a quick thought on the matchup between Dallas and Washington. How you see that going? Washington swept the series last year. Obviously, a way different Dallas team this year. That'll make things interesting, man. I talked about it yesterday. I mean, you either want Dallas to sweep Washington or Washington to sweep Dallas. I mean, a split kind of keeps you in no man's land. But if if Washington sweeps Dallas and then Philly turned around and swept Washington, the Eagles would have a legit chance to win the division if they beat Dallas in Week 17. That would be incumbent on Dallas losing to Arizona. Yeah. That's interesting. All right, man. Good fodder, good conversation. He'll be back on Tuesday as the Eagles get ready for the Washington football team. Where will they be in the standings? Well, it should be a very interesting Sunday to find out. Andrew, have a great weekend, man. I could talk football with Andrew for 4 hours. I'm really looking forward to. And now, look, the Eagles are in the middle of a playoff race. They're in a possible division situation here if the Cowboys lose this week. I can't wait to start talking about this draft class. The Eagles with 3 first-round picks this year. Andrew DeCecco, when you talk draft, that guy right there, he knows his stuff. This is going to be fun. Fun season, fun draft. Me and you hanging out live, Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN. All right. Here on the 4 o'clock hour, it's brought to you by PropSwap, America's sports betting marketplace. Todd Rank is back tonight, 5 o'clock. And we will go through all the games, spreads, what they mean, favorite 5, who you're rooting for. Rob Motti tonight as well. That's all coming up on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. We got Thursday night football tonight right here on 97.3 ESPN. You've got Pittsburgh and Minnesota. Big game in the NFC playoff chase for Minnesota. Real big game in the AFC side of things for Pittsburgh after their win last week against Baltimore. That's your game tonight. We got Sixers and Jazz as well on 97.3 ESPN. And then we'll take you to the football game. So Sixers, Jazz, Ravens, and Steelers. JR, Wager Pro, wagerpro.com is back. And we got Thursday night football, week 14, JR. It all kicks off tonight. All right, All right, JR, got a couple of games on my mind before we get your favorite play of the week. One is, man, just watch this Jets team last week. They're at home, but a 5.5-point dog at home against a Saints team that it really seems to be out of gas at this point of the season. 5-7 Saints, 3-9 Jets. Jets at home getting 5.5. Okay, Chiefs have had struggle covering all year. It feels like they've won a bunch of the games, and now Vegas is trying to get people to believe in them again. 9.5 is the number I see against Vegas. Now, I know Vegas has had its issues. This is a division game. The Chiefs haven't covered all this much. We've got double digits here. All right. So if that game's not to your liking, what's your favorite game this weekend? All right, JR, Wager Pro, wagerpro.com. There you go. Good stuff. Like that Monday night over, Rams and the Cardinals. We'll have that game for you here on 97.3 ESPN. And, of course, he likes that Thursday night. Get the info from him on that. We have that game for you as well. Thursday Night Football. Your home for Thursday, Sunday, and Monday Night Football is only 97.3 ESPN. All right, we got plenty to do with the rest of the show, including Todd Rank will join me at 5 o'clock tonight as we get our first look at the Week 14 schedule. That's coming up at 5. Rob Motti, 5:30 tonight. And you out there, going to clear out the text board. So if you want to get a text message in, I'll react to on the other side. 609-403-0973. By the way, which teams have the most to gain or lose this weekend? I'll tell you coming up next here on the Sports Bash. All right, Mike Gill here, you out there. Josh Enning back in the Matt Blatt Kia Studios, 97.3 ESPN. So, got a lot of texts today, Josh, regarding the Simmons stuff. Not really Simmons stuff, more so than just trying to find a way to fix the Sixers. So that we appreciate as always. By the way, people watching on YouTube, we apologize. When I'm on location, meaning out of the studio, any guest that is not live on the video, meaning they're on the phone, the video watchers can't hear the guests because of the way the board has to be set up when I'm on location, right? So we apologize. I see people saying, is he muted? Why can't I hear DeCecco? You can get the app and listen to the audio on the app. You'll see when people are on the phone, you don't see them in the video. Like you can see Josh right now. You can see me right now. But if we have a guest on who's on the phone, if I'm on location, we can't have the channel through because then it'll echo in the guest ear.
Yeah, and that'll be distracting for the guest.
Yeah, so we have to take the pot that feeds the audio to the video stream out of – you can't have any audio running through it because then that audio would also feed back to the guest on the phone. So that Tony Skins 112 and Joe Block, Werner, and some other people, that is why you cannot hear the guest. We apologize.
I think you just like reading their usernames.
I'm having a rough day at the office, man. If this show is coming out with any semblance of sense, God bless me. I mean, I do feel better than I did in that 3 o'clock hour. I was struggling in that 3 o'clock hour.
Yeah, I haven't heard you sniffle or sneeze in about an hour and a half.
I got this text earlier at 3:14. Hey, Mike, Joe Whalen here. Taking early out today and feel better. Should I have just left, Josh? Would that have been the better way to go about this?
I mean, the fact that you're doing fine now, I think, is just a sign that you made the right decision. You just kind of pushed through and you made it on the other end.
Just push through. Do you think I'm like anybody in the office is like, hey, he really toughed it out. Like, give me a pat on the back.
I don't even know if they're listening.
Yesterday, I went down the hall at like 3-something. Everybody was gone.
Right? I saw that too. I was like, wait, what happened to all the people?
Yeah. You're wondering, is anybody listening? Anybody in the office listening? I was near death earlier in the show, and I still kept on going. And I don't know. Now, people might have bailed. You know, we might have lost listeners at that point. They were like, hey, this guy's near death.
You weren't that bad.
It was bad enough that the guy who fixed my allergies, Dr. Paul, who's outstanding, by the way, I have had no allergy issues. And by the way, I think they're gone. When I went to Dr. Paul, he tests you for a bunch of different allergies, right?
Right.
And the way it works is, I'll tell you what, you go there and you're like, this is bizarro world, but it worked. So he tests you for a bunch of different allergies. It doesn't mean that he tested me for every single allergy. There might be something in here that I'm allergic to.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like this girl right here, I could be allergic to her.
Could be your perfume.
She could be your perfume. Well, are you wearing perfume? She is wearing perfume. But she wasn't here. She wasn't here earlier. But it could have been something like that, where somebody walked by. Maybe they had bad BO. Maybe I'm allergic to bad BO.
Bad cologne.
You know what? I got in the elevator today, and the smell of cologne, like it was stifling. Like how much cologne are some of these people? I don't wear cologne unless like I'm really going to like a high-end joint. People are wearing cologne every day. Yeah, you're a girl. Like it's nice for you to smell nice. Like for me, some of these guys are dousing themselves in cologne. Where are you going? You're sitting on the freaking stool over here, pulling an arm on the, and you're wearing cologne for that? Like seriously, I got in the elevator. I said, "My God, who was in here before me?"
There's nothing worse in this world than walking into a room or an area and you get hit in the face by a bad smelling cologne or perfume. It's completely disgusting.
I just don't understand the guy who wakes up, puts on his normal clothes, does his normal day, and just douses himself. You know, like, my girl likes the smell of my cologne, but I'm only going to wear it like when hey, we're going somewhere and I'm dressed and like we're going out for the night, like a night. I'm not putting it on if we're going food shopping. Right?
No.
This guy, I mean, like, what'd you wear? What is your go-to cologne? What do you wear? Jupe?
Me?
I just wanted to say Jupe. Remember Jupe? How many people listening remember Jupe? Joop. It was in a pink bottle.
I never used that in my life.
It was pretty big when I was in college. Like, if you know, Jupe. I think Escape was the other. Escape was the one, like, on a Friday night in Morgantown. If I was like out in the town and looking, I put on Escape.
Escape.
Yeah.
Where'd you escape at?
But I'm not wearing Escape if I'm going to class. I don't wear anything if I'm going to class.
I would hope not.
Well, I mean, that's what my point is. I walk into an elevator today, and it's like the punch in the face of somebody's cologne.
I hate that.
Where are you going at 2 o'clock in the afternoon that you need cologne?
Take a shower, man.
No, that was a good answer. No, that's the problem. The people put the cologne on when they get out of the shower, not take a shower. Why are you putting it on when you get out of the shower? You just showered. You're having a normal day. People are like, do you feel like you normally smell that you need this cologne? Like, you put the cologne on. The point of the cologne, it's supposed to be like an attraction type of thing, right?
Yeah, not a masking agent.
Exactly. It's not supposed to be, well, I'm a smelly bastard, so I got to put cologne on. Like, that's what I feel like some of these guys do. Trying to think what else there was. Jupe was the big one. I mean, not big, but it was like popular.
Remember Bod?
No, that sounds like something you would wear.
So when I was in junior high and high school, it was BOD in caps.
You went junior high cologne?
Well, no, but there were guys I knew who were using cologne in 8th grade.
Yeah.
And then they were like, "You gotta use the Bod, man." And I'm like, "What?" And the commercials were just so like weird. It was like people sweating and like they're talking about spraying cologne on you. And I'm like, what? It made no sense to me as a 14-year-old.
Yeah. Now, a couple of years ago, this is how infrequently I use cologne. I had to be 5 Christmases ago. My cousin bought me a tester, like the smallest version of this cologne. And I still have it.
Okay. Have you
and
ever
my
used
girlfriend,
it?
I use it. I use it like twice a year. My girlfriend likes it. She really likes the smell of it. So when I wear it, it's like, yeah, baby, you know?
I got you.
So I wear it a handful of times. If I'm doing the fights, you know, when I was calling the fights. Speaking of the fights, by the way, did you see AEW is coming to Boardwalk Hall?
I did. That's exciting.
Yeah. So when I was doing the fights with CM Punk, I would wear the stuff. Not that I was trying to, you know, attract him, but, you know, I didn't want to be, it's hot in there and I'm wearing a suit, you know?
Yeah, there's certain situations where you probably should splash on a cologne if you're in a certain situation, but those are very far few in between. Like, to me, if you take a shower and your clothes are clean, then you're in the right place. But if you're
middle of the day, you don't need cologne on.
Yeah. I mean, listen, if you think that your clothes smell or you smell, take a shower, wash your clothes. Don't be a lazy bum.
I wonder if Todd Rank wears cologne.
Find out next.
I think he does. I'm trying to remember. I think he gives a little spray, not a dousing.
I mean, I can see him definitely like putting on like a spray or two before a date.
Yeah. I wonder if he wore Jupe. I just remember Jupe in the pink bottle. My cologne is called Very Sexy. I think it's Victoria's Secret makes it. Victoria's Secret for men. All right. I'm going to go through the schedule and the odds for Week 14. First look at the NFL. I'm actually enticed by this because I have no idea who's playing who this week. We'll do that coming up next. Todd Rank joins me. All right, final hour of the show on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. A bunch of people texting in, 609-403-0973. Somebody said Jacquard Noir was the cologne that they used.
I remember that one.
Jacquard Noir came in a brown bottle, I think.
Black bottle.
Was it black bottle?
Yep.
Which one am I thinking of in a brown bottle?
Brown bottle. Well,
yeah, it's like a brown bottle. All right. What are you doing over there?
his mic is muted. That's what he's doing.
Well, it looks like he's on the phone.
But he's on the computer.
I mean, I got three things going at one time. I got people calling me up there bothering me. I'm like, hey, guys, I'm about to go on a radio show. It'd be nice if you can call me back.
Well, why would they know that?
Why would they know what?
That you're going on a radio show.
Well, they don't. That's the problem.
Exactly. So you're making it like it's their fault. Like, they should know I'm going on the radio show.
Well, you're darn right they should. Unfortunately, they don't see me on the video that we have on the screen to know they need to get off the phone with me. I said, I don't know what to tell you guys. I got to go.
I got to go at this moment. By the way, a couple things before we get into the schedule. So a gentleman just called me, and this is old school. I mean, the man called. It was a local number, Ventnor Margate 822 Exchange.
All right.
And he said, sir, I'm sorry. I believe I dialed the wrong number. I mean, I got to give that guy credit because a lot of times you're going nuts. Like, do I know someone from this number? Would I know somebody from here? And they don't leave a message. But that gentleman took the time to say, sorry, I think I called the wrong number.
Wait a minute. So you never actually picked up the phone. It went to your voicemail.
Well, I'm on the radio. What am I going to do?
Well, you do what I do. I was doing two things at once. I was muting you while I was on the phone, and then I had to come back.
Well, that person called you before you came on with me. This person called me while I was actually talking.
So then you checked your voicemail?
Well, I saw that he left it. I saw that it left a voicemail, so I listened to the voicemail during the commercial break, and the guy just said, I think I called the wrong number.
And you appreciate that he took the time. Unfortunately, you still then had to listen to a voicemail to then hear
it was 4
that
seconds. 4 seconds.
Good. All right.
But yes, I appreciate the fact that the guy called the wrong number and told me, hey, I called the wrong number. Instead, because like, man, you'll be like, who was that? Why did they call? What number was that?
Well, let me ask you this. If you weren't on the radio, would you have picked up that phone even not knowing that number?
No.
Isn't that funny? That's the way we are in the world today, because I'll tell you this. 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, I pick up any number that calls my phone.
Right. Especially this one being a local number. I mean, it wasn't. I get some call from, my God, I get a call all day, every day, potential spam from like San Jose or some San Mateo, California. Calls me all the time. And no, but you're right. If I saw an 822 number call me, I'd be like, oh, somebody from Ventnor or Margate, like, whatever.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
That guy doesn't get, not anymore. It's like you ever see there's a comedian out there.
Yep,
and,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
The guy who does the thing about when you knock on the door.
Matiscal.
Sebastian Matis. Yeah.
Yeah,
when you're knocking on the door, and he's like, yeah, back in the day, come on in. We got dinner. Come on in. We got the rolls. They're all ready to go. Now someone knocks on the door. Everybody's hiding under the tables, turning off all the lights.
You're telling Grandma, get down, Grandma, get down. Oh,
I think he's actually in Atlantic City, or was recently.
I got to see that. I got to find out when he's out here in LA, too. He is a great show.
I mean, that skit is just perfect.
And it really is to the truth of today. I don't want anybody knocking. A guy knocked on my door earlier this morning. I thought there's nobody has any business knocking on my door. Nobody should be coming to my door. So, of course, I don't make any noise. I put the TV on mute. I shut it down. The apartment is on lockdown. He leaves. I know that he's gone. I look through the peephole. Nobody's there. I open up the door. And I forgot it was a package I was waiting to get delivered. There it was.
You got scared of the delivery guy.
I said, oh, well, thank you for that package. He's long gone by then.
Well, I was at my cousin's house the other day, and we were just like getting ready to leave. I stopped by to say hello because I happened to be in this neighborhood up in Voorhees area. So I'm at his house, and we're outside, like exchanging just like, hey, see you, and you start talking before you get in the car. there's these two guys, and they're going door to door knocking everywhere. And my cousin's like, all right, let me get in the house before these guys come knocking on my door. I'm thinking, what are these guys like? Don't you understand? We're in a pandemic, dude. You're not knocking on people's doors.
Well, you shouldn't be. That's the truth. Did they have a mask on? Probably not.
I don't remember.
But I do love that. He goes, hey, dude, I got to go. I got to put the garage door down. I got to get inside. I got to turn the lights off.
Well, that's what you would do back in the day when the Jehovah Witnesses would come walking around your neighborhood.
That's right.
Well, and I wonder, that's what I was wondering. I wonder who they were, but maybe they're just trying to sell some knives. You know what I mean? They're just
Didn't you have that job at one point?
What, selling knives?
Yeah.
Of course I did.
Were you a door-to-door knife salesman?
I mean, for about a week, and I don't even know that I got to the doors. I think I did the preparation, and then I said, I don't think I'm going to do this.
At what point, where do you get to in your life when you say, you know what? I think I'm going door-to-door knife selling.
Hey, I'll be honest. I'd love for a knife salesman to call up your show because I think they make pretty good money. I really do. I really do. I mean, it's not anything that I'd be interested in doing, but I think
you believe they're supporting their family.
I don't think there's any question.
Wow.
Any question.
I mean, you're going door to door selling steak knives.
It's a nice little commission, I'm sure.
Gee.
A lot of legwork, though. A lot of legwork.
All right.
My God.
Number 2. Where are you on the cologne scene?
Well, you know what's ironic? I heard you use that name, Jacquard Noir, and I was going through my winter cleaning yesterday. I kid you not.
Last hour I threw out Jupe.
Jupe?
Yeah.
See, I never wore Jupe. I wore Jacquard Noir. I mean, that was legit. And it's so ironic. I'm in my winter storage cleaning bins yesterday. I'm going through my stuff. You know, I got some high school stuff back in the day. And a girlfriend of mine had made up one of those, picture boards where they put all these little cool little nuances and little pictures of things and all. And sure enough, what does she have on there? She cut out a little thing in a magazine that says Jacquard Noir. And it was because I wore it during high school.
Well, what about now?
No, I haven't gone back to it. No, I haven't.
Well, do you wear anything now?
You know what I do? And it's.
But are you okay? So do you wear something every day? Like I'm at Chickies and Pete's today. I got in the elevator. I mean, and I got suffocated in this elevator by whoever was in there before me.
Well, that's the problem. I mean, again, these guys need to take a lesson, or somebody needs to teach gentlemen on the amount of cologne that is needed or necessary. First off, I don't wear it every day. I use the body spray because the body spray kind of dissipates over time. But I will say, I do put a little dab. Here's what you got to do, gentlemen. You spray the actual bottle of cologne on your finger. Then you dab on the neck, maybe behind the ear, maybe in the front, maybe on your wrist. That's it. Let the girls be close enough to smell it. I don't need to be the guy in the elevator with you, smelling you. Like that's not turning me on.
Well, I said it's 2:00 in the afternoon. The gentleman had to be dousing that stuff. I said, what is he doing? Sitting on a thing to pull the slot machine.
Or, Mike, a lot of guys use it as a deterrent because they haven't showered in 24 hours.
That's what I was saying.
Some of these guys wear it every day. That's just their routine. They just douse some stuff in that stuff.
Yeah, and I question if those guys take showers.
That's the problem. I think some of those guys don't put deodorant on. So, and it could be a cultural thing. Some cultures just don't do it. But then they'll douse the cologne to cover up for the BO coming out of the armpits. And it's not a good combination at all. That is not a good combination.
I'm glad to know that Todd is running into the same kinds of weird people I have.
There's no question. There's no question. It's bad out there, man. It's real bad.
There are times where, look, I can apply the deodorant and it lasts me the whole day. I just am not a sweaty, but there are days where I'm like, oh man, like I might forget. Like you can smell your own self. Do these people not smell their own self?
I don't think they do.
That's poor.
Don't. I mean, it's really crazy to me. Or they think it is a musty, like manly smell, as opposed to normal, rational people who go, "That's really bad body odor."
Right.
You know what I mean? So I would say out there to any woman who's listening to this show currently, maybe refrain from the cologne for your man for Christmas, because, if he's using it appropriately, that's one thing. But if he's not, maybe you step back.
I got a gift 5 years. It had to be 5 years ago, minimally, of cologne. And that's how infrequently I wear cologne, that I still have the bottle.
Yes.
It's still in use.
Yeah, you and me agree on that. It takes me at least a couple of years to get through a bottle of cologne.
Gentleman texted in, Obsession is in the brown bottle. He is correct.
Yeah, Obsession from Calvin Klein.
Yes, I used to rock the Obsession every once in a while.
I run Allure. I'm not sure. I think it is Calvin Klein, but it's Allure.
I'm wearing Very Sexy from Victoria's Secret men's collection.
Now, is that new? Is that like a 2020?
No, that's the bottle that I have from that's the one that I was bought.
And it was called Very Sexy.
That's right.
Interesting. Did a lady friend purchase that for you?
Nah, it was my cousin.
Oh, looking out for you. That's nice of him.
Right. And then I used it once and it worked, and I'm sticking with it.
No, you like the smell. I mean, the other is you got to like the smell, right? I mean, that's the bottom line.
Right.
I like it a little bit on the sweeter scent. I don't go too musty into the mountains. I like it a little bit
on
like
this gentleman on the text board sends in Old Spice. I mean, that's,
No.
Now, here's what I will say about Old Spice. My body spray is Fiji Old Spice. And I will say that is a nice flavor to it. But the old man's Old Spice, like my dad used to do the old man's Old Spice. I go with the new contemporary Fiji body spray. That's a little better. It feels like you're in the island.
Do you still have those Fijis?
No. Are you kidding me? I wish I did. Remember we got that case?
I do. I have about 5 bottles of that Fiji still left.
Can I tell you how expensive those bottles are to purchase?
We went to the Super Bowl when Todd and I were doing the show together. We were on Radio Row in New York, and as like the gift they gave us, the guy said, "Hey, do you want these?" And it had to be, I don't know, 50 containers of the Fiji Old Spice spray. Fiji.
That's the greatest gift we've ever been given.
I still have some.
Well, I'd like you to send them my way. I mean, these things are expensive.
It's funny because I've been to a couple more Radio Rows since then, and that Old Spice display is still there, and I always walk by looking for the for the extras.
Oh man, that was a great gift, and it did last me for a good chunk. But man, I love them. I do love them.
Oh man,
it is what it is. What are you gonna do? But that name, they probably need to change the name because it scares people off. That Old Spice is that old school name.
Yeah. All right, let's get a couple of games in.
Yeah, let's sneak them in.
This guy says, you need to have more guests like this dude on. This is hilarious. Well, we could do this. We used to do this for 4 hours.
I mean,
that gentleman must not have been listening to the show when we did it together. We didn't get much in other than just cracking up laughing.
What we saying? I was talking to a producer yesterday. We were texting. He was saying, we do a whole hour on my weekend in Vegas. I mean, that's how we that's what would come up sometimes. Sometimes those are interesting stories.
Exactly.
Oof.
I'm trying to think. Man. I checked out the flights for that trip to Clearwater, man. They are killing me.
Already.
I've been looking for months. My God, it was 600. Now it's down to like 375, but geez.
Well, I told you, I told you to maybe look at a Philly because it's tough.
I have looked at a Philly.
Same price, same thing.
It's like 275. I mean, it's still in that range, but I'm like, God.
Well, now, I mean, I just remembered we were talking, the three of us earlier today, about the lockout. I mean, what's the thoughts on that?
Looks like we're not going to have any games to go to.
I mean, spring training's still on. We're going.
I mean, we'll be in Clearwater. There just won't be any games.
We'll be watching that NCAA tournament and have a few more beers than normal.
That's right.
Oof.
All right, let's take a look at what we got this week. This is the first look at the scoreboard here. And, all right, we got Steelers and Vikings tonight. Vikings are at home. Both teams need this game. I mean, the Vikings beat the Green Bay Packers. They lose to the freaking Lions. This is the NFL that we live in. So
there's no reasoning. There's no reason.
And then the Steelers look like they're dead in the water, and they beat the Ravens last week. I got Minnesota, though. They're back at home. I got Minnesota by 3 tonight. Yeah,
I mean, look, they got to be about a field goal at home. I will say this. I think I like Pittsburgh with the points. I don't know what it is, but
now,
like
this
you
is
said,
the week
Mike,
that Cousins has a monster. This is
I know.
Cousins.
It just makes none of it makes sense.
None.
But I do think you're right. I think Minnesota at home is probably about a field goal. Both these teams are hit and miss every week, so I'd say a field goal Minnesota.
Across the board, Minnesota favored by 3.5 at every book.
So they're giving you the hook. I like that hook with Pittsburgh. I think I do.
All right, we're going to have to move a little fast here. We ran a little behind by Jacquard Noir talk. Ravens-Browns, good one. Ravens need the game. Browns, if they win, they're back in the race. I got Cleveland at home. Cleveland at home, 2.
Wow, Ravens-Browns. I'm going to go I'll go Cleveland. I think it's a pick 'em. I'm just going to go pick 'em.
Ooh.
Mike Gill has the right idea. Browns are favored by 2.5 at FanDuel, 3 at DraftKings.
Titans are at home against Jacksonville. I mean, the Titans are so hard now because they lost their whole identity. Jacksonville stinks. I got to imagine Tennessee at home is favored here, but I don't love this. I mean, I wouldn't bet this game. Give me a Titans by a touchdown?
No. They got to be more than that, Mike. I mean, a couple weeks ago, Titans were looked at as maybe the best team in the NFL.
Well, I lost Derrick Henry.
Well, I'm still saying they've still been able to produce.
Now they're using Jupe.
Ooh,
they're covering up the running back spray with a little cologne.
They smell good. I'm going to go Tennessee double digits. I'm going Tennessee 11.
Wow.
Tennessee is currently favored by 9 at FanDuel and Caesars. DraftKings 8.5.
All right. I'm a little surprised there. All right. Chiefs and Raiders. This one I know. I was talking about this earlier with JR. Chiefs are 9.5 against Vegas. I think that's a lot. I mean, the Chiefs games have been close.
And they can't score that much, Mike. I mean, they're having a mess of a time scoring. Their defense is what's allowing them to win by spreads. I think Vegas is going to be able to keep that game close.
The game's in Kansas City.
Oh, it is? Ooh.
Yep.
Well, in that case, then maybe I do lean to the Chiefs. That defense is really, really playing well, Mike.
Well, you guys should know really quick, the public money is going Raiders, 62%.
Interesting.
This is another game that I know because we talked about this one with him. Saints-Jets. Jets are at home. They're 5.5-point dogs at home. But, man, I don't know what the Saints' injury said. They have just been awful offensively, awful. The 2 tackles are hurt. They switch quarterbacks. Kamara, I don't know what his situation is, but it's 5.5. Now, if everybody's back and healthy, maybe. But if it's still the same situation, that Saints team stinks.
Well, Mike, is it pretty clear to the world now that Taysom Hill isn't a quarterback? I mean, can we all agree on that? I mean, he can't throw the ball. I mean, it's pretty clear. I mean,
well, he had a busted finger.
Come on. I don't want to give him any more excuses. This guy, he's a hybrid, interesting football player. I don't deny that. He can do some really cool things. But this guy is not an every down, every week quarterback.
I'll give you that. He's not an NFL quarterback starter, but he had 3 games last year. We looked at this. He completed 75% of his passes, and he threw like 40 times. He was like 30 of 40, 28 of 38. I mean, he has thrown the ball in other games. It didn't help that he had a freaking split on his finger.
Well, I mean, they had to play him, right? I mean, that was the problem.
No, the other guy was healthy.
Well, I don't know. That team as a whole is a hot mess. So you blaming Peyton more so than you would Taysom on the play calling?
Oh, I watched what the hell Simeon play. I can understand why you don't want to go back to him either, but still.
Right. I mean, they got to go pick up somebody. Hey, you know who's out there who's hanging out? His name's Colin Kaepernick. Maybe give him a call. Maybe he could come in off of 5 years rest.
Like 5 years now.
I mean, who cares? They'll play better than these 2 guys. It's ridiculous.
That's probably true. All right, let's go. What else we got here? Man, my internet, we got, this is the biggie. Cowboys, Washington. I have no idea. Washington's at home here, but I don't think Washington's a home favorite. I think Dallas has got to be favored in this game, right? I got Washington. I like Washington kind of in the game, actually. I guess Dallas is favored by like 3.
Yeah, they have to be, Mike. I mean, I may even go, the world and how they look at it, the bookies, they love this Cowboys team more so than they should. I might even say Cowboys minus, I get the hook, 3.5, maybe 4, Dallas. I'll go Dallas minus 4.
Dallas is currently favored by 4 at FanDuel, 4.5 at DraftKings.
Okay. I like Washington with 4.5, man.
You're darn right.
Falcons and Panthers. This game's a 5-7 fest. Panthers lost their running back. McCaffrey's done,
He's
and
gone.
the coordinator's gone. Man, I guess Carolina's at home. They're probably favored by what, 2.5, 3? 3. I'll go 3.
These lines are all sticky. I'm gonna agree. Carolina, Atlanta. Atlanta's been playing better than Carolina. Carolina -1.5.
Carolina 2.5 across the board, gentlemen.
There we go.
All right.
Seahawks and Texans. Seahawks won last week. Texans, man, they're just waiting for this season to end, for God's sake. This has been awful. And they got to give them an extra week too, right? Seahawks, I mean, they're if they win this game, I guess they're still somewhat in it. I got Seattle. They won last week against San Francisco. I wouldn't be surprised if they won this game handily. I'll go Seattle 8.
This game's in Houston, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the best Wilson's looked in a while last week.
No, it's true. And Houston's just bad right now. Yeah, would you say 8? I might even, after that performance, maybe I'd even put that up maybe to 10. I'll go 10. Houston's bad. I'll go Seattle -10.
DraftKings, FanDuel, Caesars has an 8.5, but you can get 8 at that sports book that has Jamie Foxx on the commercials.
Okay.
All right.
That has Jamie Foxx on the commercial. You don't get served what we get served here, dude. Every commercial is a gambling app. Every single commercial we get on TV.
And everyone's different. Everyone.
Lions and Broncos. Lions win last week. Broncos
win.
Oh, man, they coming off a bye at home.
Brother.
I got to imagine Denver's big favorite here, but I kind of like Detroit. Give me Denver by 9.
Ooh, man, that's a heavy line. Where's this game again?
Denver.
I'll go 7. Denver -7.
Mike Gill's got the right idea. -10 at every book.
Woo.
Except for the one with the sugar in it.
Hey, now.
I'm not sure. I think I might like Detroit to cover that 10.
Giants, Chargers, the game's in L.A. Giants are playing Mike Glennon, we think, anyway.
As long as he passes concussion protocol.
Chargers, give me the Chargers by 10.
Wow. That many, huh?
The Giants are awful.
They are bad.
but the Chargers haven't been consistent enough for me. I was on the Chargers bandwagon to start this year, and then I fell off a little
out of Cincinnati last week.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. We talk about week to week, Mike. It's hit and miss.
I know.
I'll go 8.5. I'll go 8.5 Chargers.
Chargers favored 10 across the board.
Hey, all right, we're on to something here.
Going heavy.
Niners, Bengals. This one's tough. Cincinnati at home. They got bombed last week at home. I still got Cincinnati, though. Cincinnati by 3. San Francisco's a little banged up. We don't know what Debo. Give me Cincinnati 3.
Yeah, and San Fran lost last week. Yeah, they're going to think it's a bounce back. You're saying 3. I mean, it has to be in that bubble. I'll go 2. I'll go -2.
San Francisco is favored by 2 at DraftKings, 1 at FanDuel.
Wow. Vegas is saying I can't put my trust in that Bengals team.
Wow.
All right. Bills and Bucks. Buccaneers at home. Bills coming off that. The Bills might not make the playoffs. If they lose this game, man, they're in some trouble. I got Tampa Bay here by 4.
Yeah, these Bills are crumbling, which is interesting to watch.
They play New England again.
Well, this is what I mean. They don't have an easy schedule the rest of the way. Yeah, I would go 3. I'm going to go 3 on that, Mike. I'll say Tampa Bay -3.
Tampa Bay favored by 3 at FanDuel, 3.5 at DraftKings.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I was right in the ballpark. Bears and Packers. That's your Sunday night game. I got to go Packers big here. Give me Green Bay 13.
I mean, I'd go big. I don't know if I'm going to go that big, Mike. I would go double, but I'm going to say 10.5 Green Bay.
Green Bay favored by 11.5 at FanDuel, 12.5 at
Wow.
DraftKings.
Jeez.
All right.
There you go. Big numbers there. All right. And then Monday night, it's Rams and Cardinals. Good game. I like the Cardinals. That Rams team is something's not right with that team. I got Cardinals just with the customary 3.
And, Mike, I went to that last game in L.A., the Rams and the Cardinals. And the Cardinals just absolutely devoured them in LA. I mean, Kyler Murray just picked them apart.
Yeah.
I'll go Cardinals. You go customary 3. I think you got to have the hook on that, right? You got to go Arizona -3.5.
Currently, the line is 2 at the majority of sports books, but you can get it 2.5 at Caesars.
Okay, there you go. That's our first look at the schedule and what cologne you should wear, or don't wear any at all.
That might be the bet. Just use soap, guys. Guys, just use some soap.
Use soap.
Please.
All right, T. I'll catch up with you, man.
All right, buddy. Have a good one.
Todd Rank, former co-host of the Sports Bash. There you go. All right, when we come back, Rob Monty's here to take a look at Week 14 in the NFL, the matchups that you need to watch, and who needs this week here. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, and the free mobile app. It's, of course, a Thursday, so we're live at Chickies and Pete's right here in Atlantic City. And the Sports Bash is brought to you by Matt Blatt Kia. They want to get you approved today. Matt Blatt, 6211 Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township. My man Rob Monty from the Associated Press. He joins me next.
1 minute, Mike.
All right, 5:32 here on a Thursday night. Little NFL tonight starts Week 14. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty. A lot of games that matter. Let's see what Rob Motti thinks from the Associated Press. Covers the NFL. He joins us right now with a look at Week 14. Starts tonight. You got the Vikings and the Pittsburgh Steelers on Thursday Night Football. What's going on, Rob?
What's up, Mike? How you doing, man? Easy to figure out who to root for tonight if you're an Eagles fan, right? You just root for the AFC team. That's all.
There you go. You got Pittsburgh tonight. They're at me. You know, somebody literally just asked me right before we got on, who do I like tonight? And I said, I kind of like the Vikings, but here's a team that beats Green Bay and loses to Detroit. So who knows? You can't get a read on some of these teams, man. And they're one of the more mysterious teams of all.
Yeah, this is two teams who did not beat the Lions. One tied them and one lost to them. So this is like almost to see if you had a three-team tournament between the Lions, Steelers, and Vikings. The Steelers and Vikings are fighting for second place tonight. Vikings are banged up, though, a little bit tonight. So I guess if you're a Carson Wentz Indianapolis Colts fan, you would want to see the Vikings win that game because the Steelers are battling with Indy for the wild card spot. But I don't imagine there's too many of those in your listening audience.
I don't remember. I mean, I know they added a seventh playoff team, but even if there was only six, the battles for the playoff spots, I don't remember it ever being this competitive. And all the divisions, I mean, the NFC divisions are kind of locked up. The AFC side of things, all four divisions are still up for grabs.
Yeah, and, I was talking to a colleague about this last night, and is it parity or is it mediocrity, Mike? Because you have a lot of teams, and at this point in the season where we are, there's 25 teams that can say they got a shot at the playoffs because there's only 7 teams, the Jacksonvilles, the Jets, and Houston, who are completely out of it, and they're out of it. But 25 of 32 teams going into Week 14 still are competing for a playoff spot, which allows more fan bases and everybody else to be excited for it. But then I know you'll argue, do you even want to make the playoffs as a 6 or a 7 seed? Do you even want to get in, right?
Well, I'm not arguing. I'm just saying the fans. I mean, I get it all the time. I mean, you get these Eagles fans that are like, like playoffs, who wants to make the playoffs so we can get blasted by Green Bay or get, in basketball, I'm all about like, hey, I don't need to be 500 for 8 years in a row. Like if I have a bad year and I get a player, fine. In football, I feel differently. Like football to me, like the Eagles have come to the point of no return, in my opinion, Rob. Like you're 6 and 7, you're in this thing. Like, being the 10th pick, the 14th pick, the 17th pick, like there's not to this point, make the playoffs and see what happens.
Yeah, and I said this to you on Tuesday. If they don't make the playoffs, you should be disappointed. As an Eagles fan, you should look at this team right now, 6 and 7, 2 home games coming up that you should win against Washington and against the New York Giants that would put you at 8 and 7, and you would then be in the wild card. You would have to be at that point if they win the next 2, leading the wild card. And if that were the case, here's the thing: they're not fighting for the 7th spot anymore. They're fighting even for the 6th seed. The 6 and the 7 are right there, and they're fighting for that 6th spot. It's there for the taking. Why not get in?
Okay,
Go
so
for it.
You brought up, parity, mediocrity, 6 and 6 right now. You could have 2 teams possibly be under 500 and make the playoffs. Is that a good thing?
No, that would not be a good thing, and I hope that that's not the case, Mike. And yeah, you could be in that position, especially now that there's a 17th game. So you're not going to have an 8-8. You would have an 8-9, or maybe a 9-8. I'd much rather see a 9-8 than an 8-9 team in there, or 2 8-9 teams in there. And I'm hopeful that won't be the case. I think you'll end up with 2 teams getting to 9 wins, whether it's San Fran, Washington, Philly. Minnesota, I think they're beat up, they're banged up. Tonight's a big game for them, and if they lose this one, forget about it for the Vikings. But I think you'll end up with 2 9-8 teams getting in as the 6 and 7. But I don't think any of those teams is good. 6 and 7 is not going to be a 10-win team. I think you get the lone 10-win wild card being the LA Rams, who have a big game against Arizona, and they still have a hope at winning the NFC West if they can, but they got to beat Arizona this week or their chances are done. And then they'd be locked in pretty much to the 5 seed. So it's good. This is a big weekend. A lot of games with a lot of playoff ramifications across the league.
So how far-fetched is this scenario in your mind, Rob? Washington sweeps Dallas. Dallas also loses to Arizona. They beat the Giants. Philadelphia sweeps Washington, beats the Giants, and week 18, the winner wins the NFC East. How far-fetched is that?
Well, we know that would be the Sunday night football game. That's for sure. Eagles-Cowboys. And we've seen Eagles-Cowboys playoff ramifications, final game of the season, Sunday night football. Heck, we saw the Eagles play against Washington last year, Sunday night football, when it was the Nate Sudfeld game. So I could see the game being flexed into that spot. I don't think your scenario is going to play out, though, Mike. I think that scenario is going to die on Sunday when Dallas goes to Washington and wins that game. But if Washington pulls it out at home Sunday, 1 o'clock, that scenario is going to start building some momentum, man. And I'll be on here with you Tuesday going, all right, let's go. NFC East champions, fight it out for that and see what can happen.
I want to make this clear because somebody texted in the other day and said, like, that was the most ridiculous thing that I've ever said. I didn't say I think it was going to happen. Somebody asked, what would be the path to an Eagles winning the division? And I was trying to think of one, and I said that's what would have to happen is Dallas doesn't have to lose out. They can win one more game. But Philadelphia, and this reminds me, Rob, of the year that Philly lost to Miami, that awful game in Miami they lost, and then they ran the table and won the division after that game when everybody counted them out. Oh, you lost to the Dolphins. That's embarrassing. And then they won the rest of their games. If they win out here and Dallas went 1-4, they would win the division. That was the scenario I explained. And then the guy, of course, didn't listen to what I said. He said, this is the most far-fetched thing you've ever said, which it would be far-fetched if I believed it.
Mike, people are confusing a statement of fact with a hot take. Can you imagine? It happens all the time. Like, you just put something out there, and I see it on Twitter. You lay out some facts, and then people go, this is the dumbest take I've ever seen. Well, it's not a take. It's a statement of fact. I'm just telling you what has to happen. So, yeah. It doesn't surprise me. That was the 19 year that you were talking about. They lose to Miami 35-30, whatever it was. Zach Ertz drops a ball inside the 5, and then it was the Josh Perkins, Boston Scott, Greg Ward Eagles, Carson Wentz, and in 2019 they get in the playoffs, and then we know what happened after that with the concussion and a cheap shot hit from Jadeveon Clowney. But yeah, it's stranger things have happened. You go back to 2008. Remember going into the 2008 season finale, Eagles Dallas. Eagles needed 3 things to happen just for the game to matter, and all of them were upsets. They needed Tampa Bay to get upset by, I think it was the Raiders at the time.
The Raiders, because that was Gruden's last game.
Yeah, and they needed the Bears to lose at home, I think, to the Houston Texans, who were terrible. And all of this happened at 1 o'clock, and suddenly that 4 o'clock Eagles-Cowboys game against TO Cowboys turned into a do-or-die game for both teams. Win and you're in, and they went on and they crushed them like 44-6 and went on to the NFC Championship as a 6 seed, won a playoff game on the road against the Vikings, won a playoff game against the top-seeded Giants on the road, and then they were favorites in Arizona against Kurt Warner and the Cardinals, and then lost that game.
That was the year they beat the Cardinals on Thanksgiving night. They smoked them. And
the week after Donovan got benched, right?
Yep,
The week
and
after Donovan got benched.
he got benched against the Ravens in that game. And then, they on Thanksgiving night, they went out and blitzed the Cardinals. And then the game in Arizona for the playoffs, I remember I was hosting the Eagles player show at the time at Chickies and Pete's, which is where I'm at today. And we had a listener donate tickets to the game. He had tickets to the game in Arizona, and we gave them away to somebody. Yeah, it was very memorable. But obviously, you need a lot to go your way this time. But I wouldn't be surprised on that note that Philly might get flexed into another Sunday night game, because I would imagine one or two of their games is going to be pretty meaningful, and they're all NFC East games. So you would think NBC would want the Northeast and get those games on prime time if they can. So don't be surprised if that Philly-Washington Week 17 game goes to Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good possibility, that either that one or the final one against Dallas. And I don't have the schedule in front of me, so I don't know what's currently in that position. There's a lot of games that are going to have a lot of playoff ramifications, but they are partial to the NFC East. But hey, you know what? It's December. I know it's freezing up there. I'm in shorts and a t-shirt right now.
Not too bad.
Sweating like crazy. But the Eagles are in a playoff race, and who would have thought we'd even be talking about that at this point in the season? And to me, that's progress. That's a step forward.
And what I wanted to ask you today is just that, is Nick Sirianni's first season. You know, this guy was an unknown, didn't know anything about him. First game against Atlanta, I thought he did a really good job. Following that, I thought he did a terrible job. And now he's turned the corner again, and he's done a really solid job. I think his clock management's been fine. You haven't been like, what are you doing? I think his challenges are good. Like the little nuances of coaching, he does a good job with them. Where is he as a head coach in his first year for you?
I've been a Nick backer since day one, when he came out and gave that awkward news conference and everybody jumped down his throat. I've always been somebody who wants to give some people, whether it's players, coaches, GMs, a little bit more leeway and allow them an opportunity to at least have 1 year under their belt. And I have been impressed with Nick Sirianni, especially over the last 6-7 weeks, when he committed to the run game, when he showed that he's willing to adapt, adjust, and do whatever it takes to win a football game. And I think eventually he'll get the quarterback whatever way they make it happen, and they'll get their pocket passer. I think it's heading in that direction at some point, but I wouldn't mind seeing Jalen Hurts for 1 more year and give him another opportunity. But to me, Nick Sirianni is a guy who is taking the players that he has and working towards their strengths. And this is a team that can dominate the line of scrimmage with their offensive line. They got a slew of running backs. It's kind of like plug and play. They've turned into the Baltimore Ravens. Whoever's going to get the ball is going to go off for 4.5, 5 yards a pop. And they've been able to do that with Sanders, with Boston Scott, with Jordan Howard, even Kenny Gainwell. So keep going, keep doing what you have to do to win week in and week out. And we just might find you in the playoffs in mid-January.
Rob Motti hosts Faith on the Field Saturday at 9 o'clock. Who are you going to be talking to this week?
Baltimore Ravens all-pro tackle Ronnie Stanley, who is since making the all-pro team 2 years ago, has had a couple season-ending ankle injuries, so he's been down and out. But it's a good conversation, and if you're a dog lover, you're going to want to stay tuned to hear what he's doing with rescue dogs. It's a pretty cool thing. So Ronnie Stanley giving back to the community, talking a little bit about faith and what it's like to block for Lamar Jackson, because it's not as easy as it seems, apparently, and he explains that.
All right, that's Saturday morning, 9 o'clock, right here on 97.3 ESPN. Sunday at 6:30, the encore presentation. All right, Rob, enjoy the weekend, man.
Thanks, Mike. Have a great one. Bye.
Rob Motti from the Associated Press, longtime NFL writer, closing out the show on a Thursday. When we come back, I'll give you my 5 favorites, who you're rooting for, and we'll get you ready for game night tonight. Josh has Andy McNamara tonight. Talking a little NFL, a little fantasy football. That's all coming up at 6 o'clock for game night. I'll close out the Sports Bash on the other side. Don't go away. The Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, and the free mobile app. All right, who you rooting for? These are my games this weekend for you, okay? Who you rooting for? Tonight, you got Pittsburgh, obviously. That would drop the Vikings to 5-8. You'd be rooting for the Jets. Drops the Saints to 5-8. Sounds far-fetched, but last week you were rooting for Detroit, and they won. You're kind of rooting for Dallas. That would drop Washington to 6-7. Falcons, Panthers, doesn't matter. Whoever wins, inconsequential, because somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose.
It doesn't matter.
It really doesn't. I mean, if the Panthers win 6-7, you've already beaten them, and if Atlanta wins 6-7, you've already beaten them.
It's completely negligible.
You're rooting for, inconsequential Houston to beat Seattle. Seattle's done.
I'm getting a pattern here.
You're rooting for the Chargers to knock the Giants out. You're definitely rooting for the Bengals over the 49ers. 49ers lose, they would fall to 6-7.
Yep. And
you're rooting for Cardinals over Rams. That would bring the Rams back to 8-5. I mean, that would keep the 5 spot in play. I mean, it's a very long shot. That's who you're rooting for this week, all right? My 5 would be Arizona Rams, Bills, Buccaneers, 49ers, Bengals, Cowboys, Washington football team, and I guess it's either Ravens, Browns, or Raiders, Chiefs. Which one should I go? Raiders, Chiefs. That the Browns are poop, and the Ravens are tough to watch, man.
Yeah, it's getting to the point where, like, if you turn into a Chiefs game, you're tuning in for the Chiefs. You're not tuning in for the other team.
Well, the Chiefs, Raiders, you're right. But, I mean, I'm talking about the Ravens, Browns. The Ravens are a tough watch, I'm saying.
Oh, well, I thought you meant the Raiders were a tough watch because they are.
No, the Ravens.
I mean, the Ravens, they're so injured. I mean, what can they do?
I mean, hey, listen, my buddy complains all the time. Oh, if this guy's hurt, I said, dude, it's the best 53. It's not the best 22. If your team doesn't have the best 53, you ain't good enough. I don't want to hear about injuries. I mean, the Eagles have been one of the most injured teams 3 out of the last 4 years. I mean, I get it. That's what happens. You guys get hurt, and you got to replace them.
Also, who is the best practice squad? Because you call up guys in the practice squad nowadays,
This is where having a savvy GM comes into play. Is your GM getting you depth and talent?
Yep.
And if you're complaining about injuries, that means your 53 man isn't good enough. You might have a good 22, but if you don't have a good 53 man, you're going to have bumps in the season. It happens. And that's one of the things. The Eagles' offensive line last year had so many different injuries that helped them this year because the injuries. Look, they lost Brandon freaking Brooks this year. I mean, he's one of the best guards in football, and he hasn't played hardly at all.
And Mike, you said this, I think it was yesterday, the day before. They lost Sayamalu, and Dickerson's probably better than Sayamalu.
Right. And look, they've played the whole year without Brandon Graham. Think about that. Like, they haven't had Brandon Graham all year, and they're still in this mix. That's having depth. They lose a guy like Brandon Graham, Brandon Brooks, and Isaac Sayamala, and they're still in this thing. That's a sign of a team that did a good job and got depth. All right, I'm out of here, man. It's been a fun show. I'll be back tomorrow. Sal Palantonio on tomorrow's show. Also, Pete Thompson Friday, Happy Hour Friday. Josh has game night up next. Sixers Jazz at 7 o'clock.